And now, the Deep Homie Guide to the 21st Century.
Life hacks.
Science fiction coming true.
Propaganda report.
Today is March 13th, 2021, and this is the Deep Homie Guide to the 21st Century. What's up, everybody? My name is Deep Homie K. We got P. Daddy Woods, and today we've got a comedian in the office with us, Paul Leo Ellinger. What's up, dude?
I'm doing all right, man.
Yeah?
I'm all right.
You all right?
I'm always all right.
Hell yeah, bro. All right, man. So before we get right into the thick of things, I think we're going to talk a lot about maybe what's going on cancel culture-wise, greater culture at large-wise, lots of propaganda stuff today, lots of just overall shit.
Love all of it.
Love it all.
Juicy
red meat.
Juicy stuff.
To dive right in, baby. But just to give a little heads up in the world of the Deep Homies, we've been talking about cryptocurrency on the show a lot, and Bitcoin is just passing its all-time high. It just passed $60,000 last night or tonight or something, or excuse me, today. New high on that front, and it's now back into price discovery mode. I think it's actually down to 58 or 59, but it'll be back. So yeah, Deep Homies out there, you better get that cryptocurrency rig running as soon as you can, baby. There's money to be made on the internet.
I'll pop in here and say invest in Dogecoin.
Mm-hmm. Now, I got to always give the disclaimer, we actually do not give actual financial advice.
Yeah,
but
we're not financial advisors.
I would love for Paul just to pull out he actually would happen to be an investment banker. He was just hiding
This is my portfolio.
No, I mean, actually, it's full disclosure, I'm in Doge. I'm not heavy. I wouldn't put your mother's freaking life savings or a house in Doge, but I mean, yeah, I think that's a meme stock that'll get somewhere.
It's risk versus reward, man.
I mean, everybody's talking about it, so it's
how much do you have to risk and how much do you have to reward?
Yeah.
So like for example, a friend of mine put $500 in it, and that gives him eight, nine.
If it gets to $1, or what?
Well, 8, 9. What I mean is like a 8, 9, in Dogecoin. So So it's under 5 cents right now.
Right, it's about 5 cents or so. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like.
Are you saying like 8,900 or 80,000?
No, but what I'm saying is it gives.
Oh, you're saying the amount he has.
Yeah, he bought 500,
Gotcha.
so it gives him 8,700 cents. I guess.
Of Doge. 8,700 Doge.
And so as that goes up, it's risk where that's exactly what stocks are, man.
It's always a gamble, but that's one that they're talking about so much on the internet that you got to imagine it's going to get past 5 cents. That's for sure.
It's probably going to climb because it's a trend and everybody's
it's such a trend.
trendy.
And Elon Musk posts about it.
I have not been as big on Doge as you guys are.
Yeah, well, just.
But maybe I need to get in.
I think Doge. I mean, I'm not heavy in Doge, but I've got some in there, and I think it's going to go somewhere.
Yeah, luckily for me, I got a little bit of money to throw into it. I mean,
yeah, never gamble more than you're willing to lose. That's the point at the end of the day, right?
I play I'm a poker player.
You are?
Yeah.
You coming to the game tomorrow night?
I'm gonna be on my way back to Cleveland.
Dang, man, you should postpone
If it was a Saturday, then yes.
Yeah.
But
you mean just to throw together a game tonight too? Is that what you're saying?
If you want to throw a game together tonight, I'll figure it out. And I'll fucking
this guy is a poker addict, dude.
Out. And I will clean you guys out.
All right. Well, the minimum entry is 100 Doge, baby. So
100 Doge,
dude. 20 cents? No way,
bro. All right. What other deep homie news do we have here today? So we talked about Bitcoin. We talked about future trends. Another thing, too, we talk on the show is, propaganda report, what's going on in the world, future technology, and so we got that Parler app. Parler is one of that Twitter alternative kind of thing. Yeah. Parler is kind of like Gab. It's another one of those Twitter alternatives, and it was recently denied a second time entry into the Apple App Store ecosystem. So you cannot get Parler.
I wanted to ask, is it an app?
He thinks it's a problem. There's definitely some problem to this, I think. I mean, first of all, on the one side, why don't we just dive into Parler, because that's really what we're going to talk about today, really is what I would say is the question of today, because I don't really have any other announcements. Is cancel culture, or is it accountability culture? That's the thing. Now, I'll head us off, and we'll just start with the open free-form discussion. There's not going to be too much structure today. We're just going to have a great conversation with three comedians. But I'll just say this real quick, is Parler... the one side, the reason why they keep denying it is because they do they have less moderation, so there are There are white supremacists on there. There are Nazis on there. There are far right wingers on there. They did organize some of the shit probably for the January 6th fucking whatever at the Capitol, siege, insurrection, bunch of idiots showing up trying to fucking jump up and down and all that stuff. So so there's the one side of it. It's dangerous to let people have free, unmoderated speech. But on the other hand, let's hear Paul Leo Ellinger because he's ready to dive into this. I can tell. Let's hear you, brother. Let's hear you, brother.
Number one, I don't like this because I don't like the. I don't like. Give me a second to really put my thoughts together. I don't like anybody controlling anybody's speech. Like I'm an Army veteran. Like I went to Afghanistan.
Service,
I did all that. I did the whole thing, and I do not like the idea of people being controlled in any way. And now
you fought for for America, and America, the first thing on the Bill of Rights, the first stipulation is freedom of speech and religion and all that.
Yeah, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, the whole 9 yards. Everybody has the right to be who they are. Now, when it comes to like Parliament, like we have to think like big tech is literally controlling our speech. Now, I don't say that you have to support white supremacy, or I don't think you have to support racists, or you have to support people who are just outrageous.
Yeah. But
at the same time, with freedom of speech, that kind of comes
with the territory.
With the territory.
So you're saying it's like a slippery slope because if you want to moderate them, all of a sudden you're going to start moderating more and more and more stuff. Because it's one thing to be like, yeah, we don't really like them talking, but you start to say we don't like them talking, then there's going to be other. It's just kind of like an endless. Like, when does it end? Where does it end? Right? I mean,
right, and that's actually, and that's even like trickling into comedy now.
Right. Absolutely.
Because like in comedy, like you see comedians nowadays, and they're not even like really worried about getting laughs. Like they're more worried about getting applause.
Yeah,
I mean, like. Do
you mean like coming across as if they're so virtuous,
as woke?
Yeah,
as woke, or like look at what I'm saying. Look at me. Oh, it's not even look how funny I am.
I'm standing up for the marginalized groups.
They're not like making jokes anymore.
It's hard. It's harder. I do think it's a little harder to make jokes because on the one hand, you don't want to punch down. You want to just like attack people who may or may not, have as much quote unquote privilege and all that other stuff. People who have been historically oppressed. You don't want to go for that. But at the same time, though, jokes come from just like difference and weirdness and stuff. And it's like, what are you supposed to? What's weird and different now? If we're going to accept every single possible thing, how are you going to make a joke about anything? Right?
One thing about laughter that I love is that it's instinctive. That's probably my favorite thing about laughter. Is that
bypass the brain a little bit. Yeah, it just goes right to the gut.
So you say something, and like for me personally, like I always thought of comedy, and everybody has their own variation of comedy.
Yeah.
My comedy is I want 75% laughing and 25% to be uncomfortable.
So you're kind of going a little bit for that Patrice O'Neill OG type. Like he don't give a shit about. He just comes out there and says what he wants to say.
Yeah.
And now he had an advantage because he was like an 500-pound fucking 7 foot
6
black man. Yeah. So in America in this day and age, you get a little bit of
God rest his soul.
God rest his soul, baby. Rest in peace, Patrice. I love Patrice. I put a picture of Patrice up on the wall if I had one. Right next to Tony Soprano and Marvin Gaye.
Patrice, yeah.
The Mount Rushmore.
The Mount Rushmore.
Bro, it's dope. It's dope, bro. It's dope. Yeah. He needs to go up there. I think he would fit in right to the left of Sarge. See Sarge's head right there? No, whoa, Paul, Paul Ellinger's on my wall, bro.
I'm on the fucking wall.
Hell yeah,
man.
right next to fucking
it.
Dan McCourt, rest in peace. Syracuse fucking comedy legend.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, with a lot of big ups to the homies, man. But keep going, man, with this. I mean, you're right. This is comedy has always been bypassing the brain right to the gut. And you're talking about shit it's harder the more you got to think about things, the more you got to think of this list of people you're not allowed or groups you're not allowed to criticize.
I've even seen myself getting into this point where like when I'm writing a joke or I'm trying to write and I'm like, and then I reread it and then I go, all right, do I have to edit this because people are going to be nuts about it? Like, I don't want to do that. here's what I want to do. I want to say something, and if you find it funny, laugh. If you don't find it funny, don't laugh.
Yeah.
If you hate me that much, just walk out. Just do whatever you have to do to get yourself right, but don't be like, okay, well, I'm gonna go on Reddit and be like, hey, I seen this comedian, this dude who's at a bar in Cleveland or in a bar in Syracuse. This guy is terrible, and like,
have you had anything like this happen yet in real life, or is just like still like the specters in your brain are fearful?
I had it happen once.
Is that in Syracuse or in Cleveland?
Cleveland.
So this is recent because you moved to Cleveland. Recent, full disclosure, you used to
like
live in Syracuse
I do
for a
a
long
bit.
time.
I do a bit that you guys have probably heard. It's about my daughter's tits.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that legendary bit. That's a very uncomfortable bit, but I like it. I think it's funny.
It's a great.
It's funny.
It's a good bit. It always does well.
Yeah.
It always does well.
It's
So
hilarious.
I did this bit. And
And you always get the
daughter's-
same reaction.
Yeah.
I wish you didn't say the word tits, right? And you're like, nope.
no,
Sir,
like,
could you please
it's
use the word
always
breasts?
tits. No, tits is what makes it funny.
Okay.
So I go do it. And I do my daughter's tits bit, and because my daughter's 11, I have an 11-year-old daughter, right?
Let's clarify.
Let's clarify.
Nothing
Let's
about this
break it
joke.
down.
It's
Nothing
yeah.
about this joke is pedophilia. Okay.
No.
There's nothing about
It's
this.
about a
Like,
father.
I'm a very good father. I'm
Yeah.
a very good father. I'm a very good dad.
I believe him.
That's the whole reason I moved to Cleveland, was to be closer to my daughter.
Right.
So I'm doing this bit. And you guys know the bit, but I'm talking about like my daughter's tits. Like, it's weird to see your daughter's tits for the first time. Like, my daughter's 11, so she's developing.
Yeah. What are they putting in the water, man? What the fuck?
They're fucking up that from what is it, fluoride? I thought that was good for teeth. I didn't think it was good for tits. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Nobody's really sure what the hell is going on. Right.
So she's 11, and this is a hard thing for me, and this is gonna end up being another bit. Is like, she's still 11, and that's tough because she doesn't know she has tits. So she'll just walk around like she just like came out of the bathroom the other day naked, and she's just grabbing a t-shirt out of her bag because I'm a single father, so she's just got her clothes in a bag when she stays with me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So she just like walks out just buck naked, and I'm just like looking. I'm like, those are tits. She's got tits, and it's never easy. Like, it's never easy. I screamed at her. I was like, "Stop it! You got to go back to the bedroom." And then I was like, I don't want to like slam the door on her while she's in there. Like you can't be naked around me, and boom. Like, I don't want to do that kind of thing. But so I do. I digress. I do the bit, and I had she was a feminist, and I knew this because she had like blue hair.
So she had the feminist. She had the feminist uniform. She had the uniform on.
Yeah, she was. Yeah,
She had the blue hair.
It was like
and I
blue,
knew this because she had blue hair. Like,
she had blue hair, and she had
I'm a feminist, guys.
she had like it was like a wife beater, but it was like dirty. She had a bra underneath it. Good for her. But she came up to me. She was like, "You know what? I really thought your comedy was funny, but I really didn't like that whole thing about your daughter's tats." And I go, "Well, that's the whole joke.
Yeah.
Is that my daughter has tits now? Like,
well,
is she?"
Could I like as I remember it? I'm not going to tell your joke, obviously, but you're not shaming your daughter for growing
No,
up.
not
You're
at
wrestling with how uncomfortable it is to be a dad,
Right.
Yeah.
and then see that your daughter's so you're like in that joke you're like no or whatever and you're going shoot I screwed up her body image, I messed up our relationship. You're not sitting there going like it's her fault for being a woman. You're going I need to be a more mature, accomplished dad. I'm failing. Now I'm going to take that to the stage and make a joke about it. For someone to miss the nuance and be like, why are you talking about your daughter? Like it's like because that's life. Like it's weird. It's weird that your nuance actually the point of your joke is I'm screwing up, like you are.
Yeah,
not
it's me. It's my
not her fault. Yeah,
it's my fault.
I'll also say that I think your heart's definitely in the right place with that joke. It's a hilarious joke. You're talking about something uncomfortable. You're trying to deal with it on stage, and it's great. But I think I'll also say this quote unquote feminist lady. She totally has the right to say what she said to you. The fear now really is that she's going to go maybe online, rile up a bunch of internet trolls. Right. Next thing you know, you're canceled. You're not allowed to go to open mics. People hate you. Everybody, it gets worse and worse. Maybe somebody doxes you, puts your fucking address up or some bullshit. It depends on how crazy she whips the mob. Sure. That type of stuff. That's the fear now. That's the fear.
Yeah, and that's why I hate cancel culture.
Because that's the slippery slope of cancel
culture.
It's
a slippery slope. It's like, listen, you have the right to joke about anything that you want to joke about because you're joking. That's the whole point.
And that's a joke because you're dealing with pain. You're dealing with weird, awkward shit.
The idea of like inclusion, when it comes to inclusion, like Family Guy just put out like they're not going to do any more gay jokes.
They did, yeah, they did.
So like I'm like I like Family Guy, but they got no problem trashing conservatives. Like myself, I'm a conservative when it comes to politics.
Yeah, you identify it that way, yeah.
Yeah, so like, but they got no problem trashing. I mean, like they did a whole episode on Trump and just literally like...
Was it good?
It was very funny. It was very funny.
I love that a conservative can laugh at himself and his beliefs. That's great. That's how it's supposed to be.
It's like my conservative beliefs are from a fundamental standpoint. They're not from like an identify standpoint.
Yeah.
So like they literally drew Donald Trump like what a fucking dickhole, dude. Like they literally drew him like scribbly lines and just it was the worst thing I've ever like it was like the worst representation of him they could possibly do.
It looked like he had like a dead skunk on his head or something.
Probably. Oh my god. It was if you haven't seen the episode, you gotta watch the episode. Right. This is the only way you're gonna get the idea.
Yeah.
But it's like now they're like, well, we're not gonna do gay jokes. Well, what is inclusion? You know what I mean? Like I thought like the most inclusive thing is the fact that we are able to just bust each other's balls, man.
Yeah. And it's like, so, in that spirit, you ideally, it would be like, okay, we're bringing gay people into the fold. We're bringing other minorities into the fold now. We love them to death, so we can also joke about them and they can joke about us.
Yeah.
That's your,
just go for
that's
it.
your conception of what the future would look like if you were in charge.
That's the right way to do things.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
As opposed to creating a protected subclass of citizenry. Whether it's gays or whether it's a race thing or whether it's a trans thing or whether it's all this other stuff. Whereas you're saying
underrepresented
groups.
Yeah.
And I'm saying personally as a person of color, I do identify as a person of color. I'm mostly Arab, partially African. I want to be part of the fold. I've
been wondering about that.
Everyone wonders about that. You're not the first one.
I was like,
I want to be part of the fold. I don't mind if you talk about it. I'd rather you talk about it. Don't make me feel like a piece of shit, though. But like, if you're joking about it, I want to be able to be like, hey, what's up, you white piece of shit? Hey, what's up, you brown piece of shit? Like, whatever. That's where I want to be.
Dude,
that's where I personally want to be.
I grew up on Def Comedy Jam, man. I grew up on Def Comedy Jam. Like, I'm 35. I'm a little older.
You guys the same age?
36.
We're the same age.
36.
You're 36 now?
I just turned 36
Did you just
last
up
week.
it for the
Happy
fun
birthday.
of it? Like,
I just leveled up last week.
Oh, yeah. All right.
So I'm 36 now. But I grew up on Def Comedy Jam, man. So, like, I literally watched black comedians trash white people for 10 years of my life. But I loved it. I thought it was funny. And I just think, like, what are we... Man, like this next generation, man, they have no sense of humor. Like, what are you doing to where... when you look back, it's like when... Like, think about what was it, 2010 when, like, Tropic Thunder came out?
Oh my! Yeah.
And then and then
Patrick Downey Jr. dresses as
Robert Downey Jr.
as a black man.
How funny was that? It was hilarious, right? It was hilarious.
It was.
It was funny.
And then,
But not anymore.
White Chicks was funny, and to be inclusive, White Chicks was funny.
Can we just say
but that's
it
exactly.
is
I was
hilarious?
just gonna bring that up with White Chicks because like the same people who said like, oh, we got to cancel Robert Downey Jr. now, who's actually filming a movie and he's gonna be a Cuban guy. He's filming it with Jamie Foxx, and Jamie Foxx, like he's behind the whole movie. It's about like going to the NBA All-Star game. It's like a Harold and Kumar kind of comedy.
All right.
And he didn't wanna do it because he was like, hey man, that Tropic Thunder thing is coming back to haunt
Bite me in the ass right now.
It's biting me in the ass in 2021. And he's like, Jamie Foxx like, fuck it, like just go, like it's funny. Funny's funny. Right? So, and the same thing happened with White Chicks. They wanted the Wayans brothers to apologize for White Chicks. Like, no. You know what makes White Chicks funny? Two black guys playing two blonde white girls. That's what makes it funny.
Well, it's almost the ridiculous that movie, if I remember correctly, it looks ridiculous. It never seems passable. They never pass for a man.
Right.
Like didn't
they look like the Wayans brothers.
Did John Goodman dress up as a female on SNL? And like part of the joke
a
was
million times.
Yeah, he never passed for a woman. He never.
No.
It was funny because it was ridiculous.
It was funny.
Yeah.
It was just funny.
Yeah.
But it seems like funny is gone, and I noticed that when I watch like new comics I'm a new comic. You're a new comic. You're a new comic.
2 years in.
So, but like I noticed that when I watch new comics, like, and they get specials, right? These are people who have only done comedy, but they look good. Like they're nice looking people.
Yeah, we don't have that.
And
Karen,
we
you got
don't-
that going for you.
Karen's a pretty sexy fucking dude. But like myself, like I'm very abrasive looking.
It's like people just look at the stage and they swipe left. They're just
I'm definitely a swipe.
So you're
left.
just saying these good-looking people are getting special. Hey, maybe I can get a special then. Thanks for the compliment, guys. Oh my god!
But it
I
won't
can
be because you're
mediocre
funny. It's
comic.
because you're attractive.
Yeah, I'm fine with
But
that.
it's like-
I'm not funny at all. But
that's
Politics
that's
is
just
funny,
the
I don't
nature of the business. That's the nature of the business. Is you're obviously going to promote whatever's going to make people watch. Attractiveness always makes people watch.
I think even that's changing a little bit. Maybe not in comedy as much, but maybe in terms of advertisements and in terms of other stuff, you're starting to see more. I'm not trying to say people are ugly, but I'm just starting to see larger people in freaking swimsuits. You're starting to see some people that look differently than you would imagine.
Right, but that also bothers me.
You don't think big girls should have swimsuits?
Listen, what was the girl?
You don't think Lizzo's hot?
What was the girl?
Come on, Paul. Lizzo's the hottest.
What's her name? Taryn Holiday, something like that. She's
No idea.
on the cover of Cosmopolitan. This girl's about 400 pounds, and she had a swimsuit.
Oh wait, was that the SI cover? Or?
It wasn't SI.
Okay,
it
there's another
was
one.
Cosmo.
I do think there's
it
kind of
was
a limit where
Cosmo.
if you're pushing 400, I think that's actually kind of promoting unhealthiness almost at that point.
Like
it's one thing if you're 200, 300.
I'm not
maybe,
saying
but
I'm not
I
saying
don't
I'm
know.
the healthiest guy in the world. I like to lift weights. I like to stay in shape as much as I can. I'm not perfect. Paul Wood, you don't do any of those things.
I miss basketball dearly.
However,
He's been walking a lot.
I started walking.
Oh,
I'm trying to get him to
as a
lift weights
form
with me,
of
bro. I need
exercise.
somebody to lift weights with too, but you're not around anymore.
I know, dude. I'm a big weightlifter. I love weights.
Weights.
But you're also not on the cover of Cosmopolitan.
Not yet, dude. Give me a couple months. Jeez.
Yeah, but they got her on there like, and it's like, dude, you're promoting unhealthiness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not saying that like being big is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, trust me, I have wrestled in the sack with many a big woman.
That line, bro.
But
He's not besmirching any body types.
Big body.
No.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is just like, you shouldn't promote it.
What do you think would happen? Would you feel better if the lady, if you're claiming the lady's literally 400? I haven't even seen the cover. If you're saying she's 400, that seemed to me.
She's probably not 400. That's me being a dick.
What if the lady was 200? Would you think that's?
She's definitely 3.
Okay. So you think that Do you think that somebody who is larger? Do you think there's like a limit on this? Or do you think would you prefer if it was just like the '80s again, where it's just like the slimmest chicks are on the cover?
I just think just sell your magazine, of course.
Well, it seems like they're still selling somehow, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, it's also because of like we have this, insane liberal. I don't mean to use that, but this liberal view, which is like, I feel like people are going to buy it because of that. They're like, well, we got to support this because like we have to support it. We have to support it.
Isn't it?
Well, you can see it as representation
isn't that a
too.
good
Like
business
bigger,
decision then? Like,
yeah, there's more and more big people in America. There's more and more obesity and overweight people.
I'm not necessarily against anybody being on the cover. I mean,
No, I don't get. I honestly don't care because I don't buy the magazines.
Okay,
It's just you can tell. Like I don't like anything being shoved down anybody's throats. Mm-hmm. Right? Like I remember getting into a Facebook thing and with another local comedian here in upstate New York, and he said, and it was over the Dr. Seuss thing.
All right, so we're pivoting now a little bit into it's still cancel culture, I guess.
It's
type stuff, but this is the Dr. Seuss. The company decided they're no longer to. The Dr. Seuss organization is no longer to make 6 out of the books, and they weren't the most famous books, but they were still some of the books that had the depictions of the Asians with the hats on, rather the Chinese men with the hats on, and the Africans looking
look tribal,
tribal in a certain type of way. So yeah, go ahead on that.
So with that, like I literally never read or seen those books.
I did remember one of them. I remembered when I saw the headline. I remembered actually in my head, and I remembered seeing the Chinese depiction. I remember that rice patty hat and the eyes. I do remember that.
Okay, I don't remember any of those.
I'm not saying. I'm not saying.
You don't remember. You don't
is
remember.
That in the zoo?
Like
or which book is that?
I can rattle off a million, like Cat in the Hat, Green Eggs and Ham.
Right.
But those aren't
Hop on Pop was a classic.
Hop on Pop. Yeah, exactly. Like
but those aren't
one
being
fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish.
Honestly, I did feel bad for Pop.
I can rattle off a million Dr. Seuss books, but I had no idea of these books.
Yeah, Mulholland Drive.
So you had no recollection of we bought a zoo, or what is it called?
If I ran a zoo. Something about Mulberry Street.
Okay.
I had a vague recollection of them. I was a big reader when I was a kid. At the time, obviously, I was a kid, so I wasn't like offended. Oh, what do you? Okay, here's my view on all that. I'm overall against cancel culture. I'm overall pro free expression. I think in this particular case, I don't know how. I'm not that upset, only because it wasn't like. Now, I'll tell you what I think. I don't think I'm that upset that the company decided to stop producing them. I think that's their choice. Mm-hmm. I am personally upset a little bit that eBay no longer lets you buy and sell these things.
Because
they were going for like $100,000, whatever.
They're going for
you can buy. Okay, listen,
bucks
and I'm sure eBay's going to hear this and cancel something else, but you can buy old ass versions of Hitler's Mein Kampf. Now, I'm not promoting Mein Kampf. I think that's an abhorrent text, disgusting text.
Exactly.
But I'm also thinking that you should be able to buy it as a historical thing. Blah blah blah. You can buy that on eBay, but you can't buy Dr. Seuss.
You cannot buy these books, but you can buy Mein Kampf anytime you want. And if you're and I'm not against. I'm very against book burning. That's kind of thing, and that's what we're into is like a modern day book burning.
I'm just wondering how the liberal side of things got to this place, because I'm not surprised conservative Christians try to cancel stuff like Dungeons and Dragons, Harry Potter, all this other stuff.
Oh, in the 90s, yeah. That's what
not even surprised at all. Of course, you hated Marilyn Manson. You like the all this pushback against
they hated GTA.
But now this generally accepting side of the political spectrum, social spectrum, whatever you want to call it, democratic liberals, if you will, are now saying we got to get rid of this and get rid of that and get rid of that. And
they're not liberals. They're leftists.
They're
liberal.
Okay.
Somebody who is open to different points of view.
Okay, fine.
I'm a liberal.
I try to explain that to people. I try to say, listen, liberal is one thing, but when you're nuts, you're nuts. Okay. That's kind of how I put it.
But are we all on the same page that, I feel like, let's say you're really railing against cancel culture, it's okay if some things don't continue to be sold. What if they ran the demographics and said, these 6 books are not selling as well as the others? So let's not produce them anymore. That's a business decision. It's okay to make. Maybe they looked at it and said, these 6 books, or is it 6? Is that right?
It's 6 books.
Yeah.
They're not they are not a good representation. We don't like them personally from a business standpoint. We don't want to continue. Again, no problem. These books are like, maybe they are genuinely offensive, and maybe they, like, I'm not saying should be, but maybe they.
I think they are. I think they are offensive in this day and age. But I also think that you got to understand there's like a human evolution.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like to the point that I was trying to make is like I got into this thing, and like WAP.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, what do you?
NPR's Song of the Year.
Yeah. What do you think that I find like more offensive? A book from Dr. Seuss that I never heard of, or 11-year-old girls TikToking to WAP?
Well, that's my point too. Is like I saw the conversation you were having, and the gentleman pointed out how he's like, well, a good parent wouldn't let a child listen to WAP, whereas Dr. Seuss is in their hands all the time. And I didn't get into the conversation. I don't like to debate online, but yeah, my counter would be almost what you just said. 11-year-olds are on TikTok, and WAP was like one of the number 1 trending TikToks.
It was the number 1 song of the year.
How are you supposed to be a parent in this day and age? You give the kid a phone. You're supposed to what? You're supposed to just be like, no, you're not allowed to download this app. Like, how are you supposed to control all that? Or maybe their friend's going to have TikTok, and then they're going to see it because as soon as you kind of control something, like, so that was somebody who doesn't have kids, and I don't have kids either. But that was an unwise
have
thing.
kids.
Let me ask you this.
You know,
and I don't want my daughter listening to WAP, and that's not. But I don't want to cancel Cardi B.
That's what I was just about to ask. Are you suggesting that songs shouldn't be allowed to exist?
Hell no.
No.
Cardi B has every right to do exactly what Cardi B wants. If she gets, she figured out her niche, she figured out her money. That's the same thing as us as comics. Like, we figure out our niche. We figure out, because we're not the same type of comics. Like, Paul is clean. I'm dirty.
I'm brown.
You're from, nobody knows what you're from.
And you're ethnic. Like, we don't have an answer.
You're a very...
I'm a big walking question mark. No one's really sure if I wash the dishes or if I run the store. No one's really... But yeah.
But it's like, it's that kind of thing. Like, I don't want that. So, like, and he said, and you guys know who the guy is, but I'm not going to call him out. But he goes like, that I've never heard the song WAP before. I'm like, that's fine. You're a 35-year-old, 40-year-old man.
Yeah.
I'm worried about my 11-year-old daughter hearing WAP and TikToking to it and doing all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, no, I don't want her doing that. Mm-hmm. However, Cardi B can do whatever she wants.
It's kind of hard to find. Where do you even find a balance on that? How do you even control? Like,
as a parent.
Yeah.
Isn't there a little bit of like, hey, this is the world you're growing up in?
Pepe Le Pew got canceled, and then there's...
Well, he was a creep, that's for sure.
Well, he was a creep though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're like...
Right, like Pepe... Well, here's the thing with Pepe Le Pew. Like, somebody put a meme, or not a meme, but like, somebody like screenshotted one of those things, and it's... and this is something that I think is pretty relevant. Yeah. He goes like, oh, well, the guy commented on Pepe Le Pew being canceled. And he goes, thank God my children are safe from Pepe Le Pew. Now my son can go back to setting a hooker on fire in Grand Theft Auto so he doesn't have to pay her.
Yeah.
And the reason I think that is, like, you're not seeing that in video games, because video games are way more brutal than anything else.
Right.
You're not seeing that in video games because this generation, who's the cancel culture generation, they play video games. So they like those things.
Yeah.
So if it's something that you like, you can...
Right, it's sort of weird.
Yeah.
It's hard to find the right line in all this. It seems like if you are offensive to the protected groups that we're now distinguishing, whether it's people of color, whether it's women, whether it's trans people, whether it's this, that, then you're not allowed to do it. But if it's offensive to other groups, and, I guess hookers are not yet considered, although sex workers are starting to, so maybe that'll be a movement soon. Maybe soon GTA will be canceled because of the sex worker thing is kind of being promoted now. But I don't. I don't know.
Maybe it's exposing an unsafe workplace.
I like America where we're just allowed to be. I grew up in America as a millennial where I was sneaking Eminem, I was sneaking Limp Bizkit. I was mad. I wanted to play GTA. I didn't give a fuck. I didn't give a fuck about anything that was controlling the way I spoke or what I consumed. And my parents tried to, and they didn't succeed. But now I guess it's weird that the Zoomers, the Gen Zers, are trying to almost do what those 90s conservatives were trying to do, which is ban all these things they don't like.
Whatever it is that you don't like, ban it. That's the way it is. And when I grew up, I was a rap kid. So now I'm more of a metal dude, but I'm like a rap and metal dude. Like that's like
heavy music.
I listen to heavy music. I like heavy rap. I like heavy metal. So like I like DMX and
where my dogs at? Where my dogs?
Wu-Tang Clan, but I also like Ice Nine Kills, Seven Dust, and those types of bands. So that's pretty much my thing. But I'm not trying to cancel Celine Dion. You know what I mean? Like it's because I don't like her.
Yo, fuck that white bitch, man. She shouldn't even have a platform. She's too white. Stop being so white. That's what Coca-Cola says. You see the Coca-Cola shit?
Oh, dude, the Coca-Cola thing drives me. Here's another thing about that. This is actually a very good topic that you just brought up because they said like Coca-Cola has they say you got to be less white.
That's like a company training where they used some slides that they were trying to come from this. What was that book that was written last year? It was one of the top-selling New York Times best-selling books. Something White Fragility, Robin somebody. Could you please look that up?
Oh my god!
It's a book about how to be less racist as a white person.
I can't.
Less racist.
It's written by like a sociologist.
I know everything about
and look
that.
up White Fragility or
I know
Robin.
all about
you
that.
want to look it up
just to see what the names are.
I already know all about that book. I already know all about that book.
It's a guide to be. You literally read it?
No, I got the Cliff Notes, and that's all I need. The most insane thing I've ever even
Cliff noted
thought about reading.
Right. And that was one of the top selling books in America last year.
Yeah, it was a bestseller.
White Fragility, why it's so hard for white people to talk about racism.
Yeah, it's not hard.
How many times I've made jokes about that before? What's how uncomfortable we are to
It's not
Robin
hard.
something or other.
What?
Robin something or other.
I think you're totally right. Robin D'Angelo.
I speed read.
I'm just assume I don't judge on pronunciation.
When it comes to these,
I try my best.
When it comes to these kind of books, I don't actually read them because I know how shitty they are.
You can often get a gist.
I basically just speed read. So I go through it. I go through page by page, and I just I'm like a 2-year-old. I do the finger thing over all the sentences and try to get a gist. And
so Coca-Cola had
that way you don't have to buy it. You grab it in the store, you run it over, and then you're good.
Yeah. So Paul, Coca-Cola had a training seminar that they had. Also, they did stop doing because it got so much backlash. But it was a training seminar. It was basically the gist of be less white.
What's up with soda companies trying to end racism? Didn't Pepsi have the commercial with Kylie Jenner or something?
Didn't Coca-Cola used to have cocaine in it? Why are they? Who are they to talk?
Yeah, the funny thing is, and this was my contradiction. As soon as I heard Coca-Cola doing the less white thing, wouldn't being less white also be appropriation, which is also bad apparently nowadays?
No, because there's this hierarchy, man, of privilege. It's you think of it a pyramid, and the people towards the top of the pyramid are the people that are considered marginalized. And so you can't attack those people, but the people at the bottom, like white people, straight men, cisgendered men, are not allowed to be criticized. That's the logic.
We can all take turns. You are in charge of the Be Less White to Coca-Cola's team. You are the one running the seminar. What's your opening line?
Ooh, this is tough.
Honkies have no place in 21st century America.
Okay.
All right. Mine would be, welcome to your less white training. I see that we're all white here. Mm-hmm. So we're going to figure out how we can fix that.
I brought a tanning bed, so anybody who's at a certain threshold can go ahead and get in that now.
Today we're going to learn how we can get more folks to get jiggy with Coca-Cola.
That's fantastic.
It's just like,
That's
I can't
fantastic.
imagine what kind of weird puns or the pep that's involved.
That's fantastic.
It's just so silly.
Let's go back on this though a little bit. Do you guys think that do you think that America has a racist or white supremacist past?
No.
You say no. What do you think?
Do you think that America...
That was the question. Do you think that America has either a racist or a white supremacist past?
The country at large, I tend to believe that there is white supremacy in our past, and yes, yeah, I think there has been and continues to this day, as the whole country. There's definitely problems with racism at times. Yes.
Sure, yeah,
and very much so.
There's nothing. When it comes to being like, is there problems with racism? Yes, but one of the quotes from that I got from somebody, they said, not all conservatives are racist, but all racists are conservatives. And I said, I don't think that conservative came up with blue-eyed, blonde-haired, white devil. I don't think so. So like, and then they were just like, well, you're just a fucking white supremacist, and they just went on that thing. But I noticed that like when you try to discuss things, the first thing that they're going to do, like the first thing that like from that side is going to do is they're just going to call you racist because they can't really debate you with facts. What they're doing is they're going to debate you by just trying to discredit you.
Could I also preface that by saying it's a highly emotional and deep issue that
it is
very hard to discuss without having any emotional context involved. So I don't know if like you're almost holding it against them that they're not discussing it just purely with facts. It's just very hard to separate.
But I can give you
your
facts.
emotions in this case, and
Here's
I feel
facts.
for them.
George Washington was the first president of the United States. George Washington was very conflicted about slavery. Did not like it. In fact, on his deathbed, he freed his slaves. He had slaves. John Adams was his vice president, who became the second president of the United States. John Adams quoted to say, the American Revolution is not going to be complete until all slaves are free. That's the second president of the United States. And you want to know what the liberals are trying to do right now? They're trying to get rid of John Adams. This guy did not. Betsy Ross, who came up with our flag. At the time, it had 16 stars on it. Mm-hmm. She was an abolitionist who did not believe in slavery. So to say that this...
But because at the time, a lot of those states had slaves, they're saying we should cancel Betsy Ross. Is that what it was?
Right, because Nike was going to come out with a July 4th Air Force One.
Right.
That had the Betsy Ross flag on it. And then Colin Kaepernick was like, fuck that. And it's like, no, like you're confusing what you think of the United States to what it is. So now they're starting the 1619 Project now. 1619 Project states that America started in 1619, not 1776. And I'm like, no, it didn't. It started in 1776 because that's when we became a free land. That's after the Revolutionary War.
Wait, wasn't that the Declaration of Independence or no?
Did you say 1619? So that'd be going back in time.
Going back in time, 1619. Because that's when the first slave set foot on the United States soil.
Oh, okay.
Wait, I'm confused. What was the... I thought it's 400 years. I thought it was 400 years of slavery in America. What's the deal with... Or is that just the Americas?
No, that's nonsense.
Okay.
We're 250 years old.
Yeah.
That's basically what we are. As a country, we're 250 years old, and we have accelerated every other country in the world. And I'm not saying that to be shitty to the other countries of the world, but we accelerated it. We are the greenest country to have our population. India and China are not, they're not regulated.
You're like saying greenest per capita?
Greenest.
Okay.
So like per capita, we're the greenest country in the world. They're not regulated in India or China. So the Paris Accord that we're in now like there's no point for us to be in it because we're already green. Like you guys get green. But when it comes back to that 1619 thing, like right now they're trying to push that 1619 thing, and that is a problem. I don't like that. Like that's a big thing I don't like is because they're saying that that's when the first slave set foot on American soil.
Okay.
Well,
sounds like a terrible day in human history.
We weren't America. We were England. If you remember, we fought a whole war over this. The same way we fought a whole war over slavery in the Civil War. Like we did this thing. And like
I 100% appreciate your view. I think you got some nuance going on there, and I think that's really good. It's lost in today's constant propaganda. I think that I agree somewhat with what you're saying. I also think that like we still also have to contend with the history of there was slavery. It was in the South, for the mostly in the South. It got to the point where the southern states, they fought for states' rights, but they were fighting to keep their slaves. We all know that, and that's a big part of American history. To your point, there were the Northerners. We lost, and actually throughout the whole country, we lost. It was one of the bloodiest battles in history, and plenty of people died. Plenty of white people died to end slavery. So that's to your point. But also, there was slavery for a zillion years, or not a zillion. I'm sorry, a lot of years in America, specifically in the South. After that, there was the Jim Crow laws in the South that kept black folks from voting and other things like that, kept them, underemployed, sharecropping. There was the blacklisting in the 20th century. There was a lot of racist experiments done, the Tuskegee experiments done on black folks. There are a lot of things to the point that there's some. Okay, I think there has been some. You could call it white supremacy and racism in American history, but. To your point, I do think that it's nuanced.
It's the term white supremacy.
That's what you take offense to.
Because white supremacy, I don't take offense to it.
You dislike it.
I don't give a fuck.
Well, you don't like it.
But like white supremacy, when everybody says white supremacy, it's because like that's what they're using now. Like that's the media. That's what they're using now. They don't say racism anymore. They say white supremacy. And the reason they say that is because if you say racism, that means that everybody can be racist. But they're specifically targeting white supremacy. The fact is, man, white supremacy is there white supremacy? I'm sure there is.
Yeah, but how often do you see Klansmen? How often do you see them? Like
we're in a pretty good spot.
We have made a lot of progress. That's what you want to focus on. You want to focus on how much progress we've made.
That doesn't mean there isn't further to go. I guess I am kind of like, I'm not just playing devil's advocate. I'm like, can we fix it better? Yeah, make it better.
Sure. Well, you can't make being an asshole illegal. And that's where that's my thing. Like that's kind of my thing. Like you can't make being an asshole illegal. So when it comes to like real white supremacists, like the rednecks who go out to the woods and have a campfire and be like, "Hey, we hate black people, right?" Okay. Everybody's like, "Yeah." And they wrote.
But white supremacists, they don't just dislike a race. White supremacy is saying that you literally believe your genetic line, white, is literally superior in some way.
Okay, that's fine,
right? Well, I think he's pointing out that they're kind of expanding it beyond that definition to sort of turn into a whole systemic critique to say that all of our institutions in America and all these other things are inherently to the core rotten with the white supremacy. That's what they're sort of doing now.
That's what seems to be getting pushed.
Okay,
and that's not true.
So if I'm trying to fully understand it. They're now saying that business systems, the ecology, education system, all these different systems have had subtle or overt influence from a white supremacist standpoint. Literally trying to almost engineer to make sure more white people become the top earners.
And I think it's not just it's not just white skin color. It's also just like they're kind of starting to pull into, like if you look at so we got like Black Lives Matter. Like I think, at least I think we probably all agree, but I definitely think that in principle, obviously Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives matter.
Absolutely.
Black Lives matter. Black Lives matter. Seriously.
However,
but the actual platform of the actual institution, if you look at like what they want to do, they want to get rid of certain things, like for example the nuclear family, saying that stems from a culture of whiteness, for example.
Well, Have you?
I don't think that's.
I
No,
don't-
that's what Black Lives Matter. If you
Well,
look
like
at their-
Black Lives.
if
The
you go
reason,
type in Black Lives Matter and look at the
here's
institution, that's what they
here's
think.
here's the
think-
counter
It's one of their
argument.
tenets of the platform.
So
Can
the counter argument to Black
Capitalism,
Lives
too.
Matter is like the counter to Black Lives Matter was the All Lives Matter, right? And then the people who supported Black Lives Matter said like, just saying all lives matter, that's not the same. Like, no, it is. We should be inclusive. So like, I agree with both. I agree with all lives matter. I agree with Black Lives Matter. However, I'm not going to take a bullet for either one of them, to be honest with you. But it's just, you guys got to get your shit straight.
Well, you kind of did, though. You didn't take a bullet, but you did fight for this country, which is, in principle, the fight to free speech, the fight for the American Bill of Rights, which includes free expression, which would thereby include both sides. You're like, hey, I want the Black Lives Matter people to be able to speak.
I want them to be able to do it. I want
speak.
them to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And but the thing is like this enemy mentality is the enemy mentality, man. I guess it's like if
we're
you're
like
a
a nation divided amongst
conservative,
itself right now.
yeah, if you're a conservative, it's like you're just a white supremacist and you're this and you're this and you're this.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a liberal, you're like a
You don't even want to say it.
I want to say things, but I know that I can't, so that you won't get knocked down.
Gotcha.
But I'm pretty sure you can put it together.
We're on this together.
Can we add this just important nuance? I think Andrew Schultz said it really wonderfully in his comedy special on Netflix when he talked about Black Lives Matter. And maybe we moved slightly off of Black Lives Matter, but there is Black Lives Matter, the movement.
Well, that's what I was
Black
saying.
Lives Matter, the organization.
That's what I was pointing out.
You were
That's what I was pointing out.
Yeah.
I don't know if they took it down or not, but at one time their tenets included like certain Marxist ideas, like for example, the white family was
Trained
a
Marxists.
nuclear, a nuclear white family.
And when you're talking about that, that's the organization, that's the website, not the people on the street having this awesome movement for greater equality. I think we're all with that, and then the questionable part is the organization. Yeah.
We are.
I just think that's really interesting and important thing to
we're definitely all
express.
with that.
Yeah.
Everyone at this table right now is with the concept of Black Lives Matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Black Lives in America should not be. We should not see videos that happened to like George Floyd. We don't want to see that. We don't want to see what happened to Trayvon Martin on camera. We don't like to see all these things. Or not like. We think that.
I want people to be proud of the United States. Because I'm very proud of the United States. Like what would you say? Like I am not afraid to say that I'm a very proud American.
Yeah.
Unapologetically proud.
And hey,
unapologetically proud.
As somebody who descends from a family of immigrants, just last week we were talking to my cousin Tommy Anthony Jr., and we were talking about how him and I would like to go visit Lebanon, which is where our family is mostly from, Lebanon.
So that's where you're from.
Mostly. Yeah, like I said, I'm half Lebanese, part African and part French, but mostly Lebanese. We would like to go there, but like literally the security in that country is questionable. It's scary. You know, you're near Israel, Palestine. There's a lot of things going on. There's Hezbollah has part of the. It's just a mess, and it's concerning to be somebody who lives in a place like Lebanon where things are mostly normal, but you don't know if Beirut's going to get bombed tomorrow.
Right.
So that's the type of stuff that we mostly take for granted in America, other than 9/11. For the most part, we have a general sense. I don't care what you look like. I don't care how you identify. In general, stop trying to make this like you're not worried about getting bombed most of the time. Okay, like. We have it pretty darn good in America in a lot of ways. We're working on the nuances right now. We're trying to include more people, different folks, different looks and genders and all that other stuff. That's good. But I think you're kind of pointing out that it's like they got this abrasive thing now where it's like they're trying to attack like white people, males and all this stuff, where it's like we're kind of like saying like, hey, can we just like, without attacking anybody, can we just kind of start to include more people into the fold instead of having to throw out the old order? You know what I mean? Like,
that's also interesting. That you just pointed out is because now they're doing away with mom and dad. Like that's another.
Is that
thing.
like a Mr. Potato Head kind of idea a little bit?
Yeah, I guess.
Or do they get rid of Mr. Is he on or is he off?
No, apparently it's just going to be.
Is he
Potato
out or
Head?
off? What?
Well, yeah, he's. I think they changed the potato head, but then on the label, maybe it still says in tiny letters, like it could be Mr. or Miss. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where we're at with that. If you want to look it up, you could. I'm not really sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but they're doing like in schools, like in California, they just passed a law where you can't say like mom or dad, and like
you literally can't say
what?
Yeah.
mom or dad. Are you discouraged from saying mom and dad? Or you're literally
well, it's probably discouraged. It's probably not law yet, but I seen like the thing. Where it was like, instead of saying mom and dad, say this. Instead of saying this, say this. Say it. And I'm just like thinking to myself, like, well, I'm dad. Like, I have a daughter. And I identify as dad.
Yeah.
So if she says, I have a dad, then I'm perfectly okay with that.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that exactly like you... Funny thing about that Mr. Potato Head thing. I'm going to come back to this. Like, so the trans people who, you know, I have no problem with trans people, whatever. By taking away Mr. Potato Head, isn't there trans people who want to be referred to as Mr.?
You're right.
So why is this potato not allowed to refer to himself as Mr.?
I think it's interesting that that a potato, like, or a potato head, either one,
potato
can be Mr. or Mrs. Like based on like, I guess you could say like based on accessories, but like accessories are just that, they're accessories. Like, just because someone wears pink doesn't make them a woman or a man. Like you know. So if you chose to wear a bow, that doesn't change your gender. Whatever.
Yeah, they're also
like. I kind of understand. Are they? What do you think they're trying to get at? Like that saying this bow tie or whatever is reinforcing like the stereotype that men should wear ties and women should wear bows. Is that what they're getting at? Is that what we're getting at? Like, because you're just dressing up a plastic potato. You're just dressing up a plastic potato. All right. So just
to clarify, AP had an article recently. It's not even. It's Hasbro came out and said they would drop the Mr. from the brand's name in order to be more inclusive. They would sell a new playset this fall without the Mr. and Mrs. designations that will let kids create their own type of potato families.
Okay.
Including 2 moms or 2 dads. Okay, but in a tweet later that afternoon, Hasbro clarified that while the brand is changing, the actual Mr. and Mrs. Potato Head characters will still live on and be sold in stores. In a picture posted on Twitter, the Mr. and Mrs. names are less prominently displayed on the bottom of the box.
Okay, so don't you think the headlines are misleading then, saying they've canceled Mr. Potato Head?
In this case, this was a good headline. Mr. Potato Head drops the Mr. sort of by AP. So
kind of.
Sort of.
Yeah. Sort of.
Sort of.
So like the actual brand is now called Potato Head.
So basically,
but there's still you can still buy a Mr. and Mrs. version. I think is what I'm getting at.
So
that's not too bad, I guess, in the end, right? That's
basically, you got to pick up your potato head and then look at the ingredients and see if it says Mr. It's like plastic nonsense. Oh, by the way, this is Mr. Potato Head, and then it's
just I don't even know, man. With that, it's like I'm in the same camp as I am with Dr. Seuss. I don't care that much. I think it's a little bit of a wedge issue they just put out there, and it's not even that big a deal.
I think that's as perfect the way to put it, because the things that are being brought up as major things, I give so little shits about.
Right. Yeah.
I give so little shits about.
But they don't bring up the shit that you do care about. You have to like find that in the
you got to go into it. Like you got to really like take a deep dive to find the things that
you got to be like a data scientist.
It's like oh my gosh, they're getting rid of Dr. Seuss books. You'd be like, guys, have you heard of this thing called human trafficking?
Right.
It's nuts.
Have you
Yeah, go ahead.
Have you ever... Yeah, like human trafficking is literally like one of the biggest things we have in the like that's one of the biggest problems.
You can track people for COVID. Why don't you track kids for child abduction? Why don't we solve that, guys?
Like I get text messages when an Amber Alert goes off.
Right. Yeah.
Right? I give a shit about that kid being found. You know what I don't give a fuck about? How people dress their plastic potato.
Yeah. But how misleading of the headlines to act like they're canceling Mr. Potato Head when honestly what you just read, Karam, kind of didn't sound like canceling. It was like, oh, they want to rebrand slightly.
Yeah, they're just
all right, chill. Everybody
just
chill.
They're just subtly changing it to continue selling. That's
It's
all.
like we've lost the ability to not be polarized.
Everybody, yeah, exactly. It's 100% that.
Yeah.
It's 100% that. They.
Keep going. You guys have a great discussion. You keep going while I deal with my fucking.
Yeah, like you don't have to worry about that post. Like you could literally.
Yeah, we can take it.
Can we take a break to do 5 minutes?
Gotta go to the whiz palace.
Take 5 minutes.
I think it's a good combo, man.
Yeah, we're having a good
It's a
time.
very good combo.
All right, boys. All right, we're back in the mix here at the Deep Homie Podcast. Took a little whiz break, and now we're back with it. Having a really interesting conversation with P. Daddy Woods and Paul Leo Ellinger today about cancel culture and the rest. And let's go. Anything else to say about that, boys? Any other thoughts coming to mind? Is there
A million.
Yeah, a million. We can't stop it. We can't stop it.
No,
It's
like
torrent.
when it comes to cancel culture, it's literally, in my opinion, the dumbest thing that's ever happened. Because like the one thing that we have is freedom of speech. It's something that we like really have in this country is freedom of speech. And literally when it comes to comedy, it's like I said, like before, like the gut instinct. It's just like I told you, my thing, 75 funny, 25 uncomfortable. Like that's my percentage. So if you don't like it, you just leave. But nowadays everybody has that. It's like whatever I don't like, I have to take out. But if they like it and it's shitty, then it's fine. So like and I always come back to W.A.P. And I always, because it's the perfect one. It's the perfect thing to like compare everything to, which is why like I said, a comedian that we know, he goes every time there's a cancel culture issue, it's always compared to W.A.P. And my response was, yeah, perfect. That's exactly perfect. That's exactly what, it's a perfect example of you finding what you don't like and getting rid of that and then leaving this just for everybody to.
So what is the solution to the whole? What is your solution to the wet ass pussy Dr. Seuss paradox? What is the
everybody just realize you're not that important and fuck off. Like
so
that's pretty much it.
So let wet ass pussy live and let
Dr. Seuss live.
hang
Let
out.
wet ass pussy live.
You know what I like? I like Disney Plus's solution to what they deem. There's been. I wrote some of the things that happened with Disney Plus recently. Disney Plus. Where did I write it down? Oh, maybe I didn't write it down. They put a warning up before some of their. I thought I wrote this down. Shit. Oh yeah. So now if you go to Disney Plus, they put a warning before Dumbo, Peter Pan, Fantasia, and Jungle Book, a couple other ones, where they, I guess there's been some what you could call racist imagery in there and all this other stuff. They put a warning in front of it instead of taking it off their platform. They put like a warning up.
Right.
What do you think of that solution as opposed?
I think that's idiotic.
You think it's idiotic too?
I think it's
infantilizing
idiotic.
us.
I think it's like now you're just giving people a reason to be like, there's a warning to this. All right, let's see what I can blog about. Let's see what I can get crazy on Facebook about or tweet about. And it's just like, no, just it is what it is. Like let it be, and move on with your life. Like,
I still prefer that. I still prefer that to taking what is history, what is art and history down. But I see your point.
I prefer
I see your
it
point
versus
too.
getting rid of it. Like for instance, there's a lot of comedic uses of blackface
right.
that they just got, or even for instance, one of my favorite shows of all time, Community, wearing a shirt, Troy Nobbit in the
Love
morning.
Community.
What's
I
up?
love Community.
There's two episodes actually where they play Dungeons and Dragons. I believe in the first one, which you cannot find now on the streaming platforms Hulu and Netflix, which are streaming Community currently. The reason you can't find that episode is because Chang, Ken Jeong, played by Ken Jeong, Benjamin Chang, basically has black paint on. And I don't mean to look like he is a person with dark brown or black skin. I mean black latex paint. And he is playing a dark elf troll or something to that effect. He's got black latex paint. It's like Gamora. Gamora in Guardians of the Galaxy is green paint. Like it is a color that no one on our planet really has. Okay, and they took off that episode because they genuinely were fearing backlash. I don't know who made the decision. Was it NBC? Was it Hulu? Or was it Netflix or all joint or whatever? Fearing backlash that could have been somehow offensive. In my humble opinion, which I don't pretend to speak for everyone on the planet, it's weird. You might not think it was funny, but I don't think that was blackface. It doesn't even strike me as it's like, what are we doing?
Like hearing that and I watched just about every episode of Community, and I don't remember that.
It's the first Dungeon and Dragon.
But but at the same time, like blackface is very specific.
Yeah. Like
blackface in itself is very specific, and I don't agree with anybody doing blackface. However, like I also, when it comes back to Tropic Thunder, I don't think Robert Downey Jr. did blackface.
I believe he was doing something to make fun of blackface. He was doing a comic representation, just in the way that there's an episode of 30 Rock you can't find anymore because they did blackface.
Well, blackface is very specific. Like blackface was like the big red lips and
the minstrel show look.
Yes. Yeah. I think Whoopi Goldberg has an interview about how she collects different things that have blackface in them, different movies or pictures and stuff. It was very specific, and it was very demeaning and very terrible.
Right, and but when it comes to,
I said that's a hobby.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I don't remember who she interviewed, but I think it was Whoopi Goldberg. Yeah.
But at the same time, like when it comes to like Robert Downey Jr.'s role in Tropic Thunder, like that's not blackface to me. To me, that's just a very funny role. I think he did a very funny role.
Would you agree with this? Like he did something that part of the joke was making fun of and trying to tear down at the idea of what blackface used to be before any of us were born. Character underwent some kind of surgery to change his pigment of his skin.
Okay, yeah, that's okay. I remember
the Michael Jackson
to Paul's
in reverse.
To Ellinger's point originally. I remember he's talking about how now you got to think all these things before you can tell a joke on stage. I remember I was so stoned I don't remember the details of that movie, but I remember laughing. It was a gut punch. I was laughing throughout Tropic Thunder. Period.
Super funny.
Period. Gotcha. Am I pro racism? No. Am I pro blackface? No. Was I laughing during that movie? Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. But to your point, if the option is get rid of it and pretend it never existed, or have a little warning saying, "Hey, look, there's some stuff in here that don't misconstrue this."
But we already have that. It's called a rating system. R-rated, PG-13, PG.
Well, now they're sort of changing so that is really parental advisory, that whole system. So that's sort of to your wet ass pussy point, like that's something where you don't want kids to watch because it's objectionable. But now it's a whole new set of criteria where it's offensive to certain groups. That's kind of sort of different than bad language or bad morality, bad sex or whatever. So it's kind of weird how now we got a double tiered rating censorship system now. Yeah. You got to go through this one filter. I guess they're caring less about the old filter though, right? People can swear on TV now. People can swear. I think you can maybe even swear on the radio, maybe not. But like they're starting to not care about all that.
Like one of the things that I've noticed, like in my elder years here at 36 years old. Singers swear now. Like when I was when we were growing up, like you listen to rap, and then rap was like that's when they went hard and swore. Now like Olivia Rodrigo, like she's got the biggest song in the world with Driver's License, and I love that song, by the way. Mm-hmm. I got my driver's license, you know that song, and she fucking swears in it.
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
Justin Bieber swears. Yeah. It's like, could you imagine like Boys to Men swearing? Like I don't know if you can. Like
at the end of the mother road.
Yeah, it's like.
Can you imagine Paul Wood swearing?
I'm down, and I'm down on bended fucking knee. Like, could you imagine that shit? Like it's such a weird change. I guess
I will always fucking love you. Girl. My pussy's so wet for you.
like but that's like I guess I get the generational change. Like
so genuine now too.
Yeah, because it's so it's like I remember like my father is 65 years old, and I remember seeing pictures of him in the 70s, and he was the fucking man. Like he had like the feathered hair with a fedora.
Oh baby.
He was jacked and chiseled, and fucking had like the feathered shirt that was unbuttoned down to here, and his baby blue bell bottoms and shit, hanging out with black dudes like smoking joints on the back of a truck.
Yeah.
Like my old man was the shit. The Bee Gees never swore. Right? Dionne Warwick never swore. Justin Bieber swears.
Yeah.
Olivia Rodrigo swears.
So you're saying that cursing was part of like the street culture. It was part of like the alternative culture that you didn't hear in pop culture. You didn't hear on the big airwaves.
Right.
But now it's right in your face.
It's funny to me because like I just remember like growing up in the 90s and going like, yo, DMX, fuck yeah. And DMX is my shit. I still listen to DMX just about every day.
Just about every day?
Just about every day.
We gotta get you some new tunes.
Hell no.
I remember when I found out that DMX was like a little dude, I was like, what? Like, I thought DMX was 7'7", had like 800 pounds. He's like a little man. He's like, hey.
Was he one of the first that
Method
like
Man,
always said
Wu-Tang
DMX before every single song? You know, like at the beginning?
It's the motherfucking X.
Yeah.
That's who he was. And now it's like,
oh no, he's 5'11", my bad. But I still thought he was like 10'10".
Yeah, so he's like my height.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so can I build an analogy here between warnings to give us a little more context of the years that it was made in, the cultural significance at the time, and the cultural insensitivities at the time, versus cancellation entirely? I prefer warnings. I think Bob Costas talked about the steroid era in baseball and saying, are we going to let any of these people in the Hall of Fame? And did I talk about this on another pod or not?
No, not on a pod, but you and I were talking about it recently with the whole Barry Bonds thing.
Yeah, and so do we let these people into the Hall of Fame? The Barry Bondses, the Mark McGuires, the Sammy Sosas, that whole entire generation. And he said, let them all in.
Which is obviously the best generation to watch.
Put up a plaque saying, listen, this era was filled with ba 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 ba. He goes, there can be a plaque for how alert everybody was in the 80s because they were all taking uppers or whatever.
Right. Well, I'm not a huge baseball fan, but I could say like, yeah, let him in.
Just let him in.
Why
and
is
figure
Pete
it out.
Rose not in?
Well, because he gambled, bro. That's
because
why.
he gambled.
How does that have to do with baseball?
Because
he gambled on the games. He gambled on games that he either played in or managed. I think he might have been the manager of, right?
Okay.
Manager?
No, he never gambled on. Well, we don't know.
He swears he never bet against himself, though.
He swears he never bet against himself, but he was betting on baseball while he was playing baseball
or managing, one of the two. I can't remember.
Or
maybe both. And then it comes out, and you understand why they banned him, sort of.
Okay. But
he was the effort
Jose Canseco
apparently was amazing. Like this
Jose
dude
Canseco's
would die for a ball. You can't question his effort.
He's arguably the best hitter of all time, and he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Jose Canseco, right? You said?
No, Pete Rose.
Pete Rose
is arguably the best hitter of all time. Mm-hmm. However, like Jose Canseco was shooting up Mark McGuire in the ass. He's giving a little shoot in the ass when he was knocking down 75 home runs a year.
Yeah.
But I also remember
that was the Oakland A's, right? Oakland A's.
Yeah, with the Oakland A's.
That's so you can watch the Lonely Island do thing on Netflix with them, and they call me Jose. That whole special is based around those two.
Yeah, Canseco put out like a biography where he just exposed everybody, like just real salty. Real salty.
Yeah.
Just exposed everybody for it.
Yeah.
But like I knew. Like when I was a kid, because I was a kid and I was going through that McGuire Sosa, the McGuire Sosa thing that was going on.
I was
for like
a little
3
young,
years.
but big deal.
I vaguely obviously remember.
You were a little younger though. It was a.
Are you talking about the scandal by the time they're like coming back on it?
I'm
before
talking
the
about
scandal.
like when it was happening.
Well, I feel like that was probably the best time to watch baseball. I bet
It was
the
the only time.
Huge dudes
It was
come up
during
to
the
the
storm.
bat.
Remember the power outage?
Yeah.
So we had this
storm.
Labor Day storm, and we're like trying to watch to see if McGuire or Sosa is going to break it. I think they had a series together.
My brother's a big Cubs fan.
Oh,
my brother's
my
a big
goodness.
Cubs fan, so he was all about Sosa. And at the time, if you had cable, like we had WGN, which played all the Cubs games. So it was a Chicago-based thing.
Yeah.
So I would watch. I was a Sosa guy because I would watch. I got to watch Sosa every single game.
Yeah.
Like every day when I came home from school, the Cubs game was on.
And this is before Sosa broke a bat that had cork in it.
Yeah,
He had a corked bat one game, and it broke, and he goes, "Oh, I normally just warm up with that." That was a mistake.
Yeah, honestly, and you know what?
So that was like a Tom Brady deflated ball
so
thing.
questionable.
You know what? You know what? He was clearly juicing, so he probably didn't need the corked bat. Like he probably does use that for batting practice, just to knock home runs out in the fans.
Have you ever hit with a cork bat? Either one of you?
No.
I have not. Is
I
it
have-
awesome?
It's going further. Like you're like I hit once with I think it was a metal bat that was corked, and it was like rocketing off of the sucker. I was like, this is insane. Like easy swings were going like full 20, 30, 40, 50 yards.
My question as somebody who's an outsider to baseball is, was the 90s era the best era of
It
baseball?
was so fun.
It was so
freaking
freaking compelling.
That's what I would imagine.
Because like
these
me,
roided out dudes come up to step up and just hit him out the park all the time.
because I remember being in 8th grade was the first year, I think. I was in 8th grade was the first year when like Sosa and McGuire were chasing 62, which was
home runs, you mean?
Yeah, 62 home runs. So like basically like 3/4 of the way through the season, they were already at like 55, 56.
Wow.
And
Ken Griffey was in it for a little while too, but then he fell off because he
doesn't juice. Same thing with Lance Berkman.
Yeah.
Because if everybody remembers Fat Elvis, that was Lance Berkman. I was an Astros fan growing up, and the reason I was an Astros fan was because my brother was a Cubs fan, and the Astros were the same reason why I'm a Jets fan is because my brother's a Bills fan.
So you just
I just took whatever their rivals were.
Sibling rivalry.
Yeah. I was an Astros guy with Biggio and Bagwell, but we had Lance Berkman and the Astros.
Okay. Dude, one listener right now is like, baseball, finally.
Yeah. So Lance Berkman was not Sammy Sosa, who was jacked and chiseled.
Yeah.
Can we give it this idea? You know how like 80s wrestlers, 1980s wrestlers look just like they're doing something. They're roiding. They're like, they're seizing up, going crazy. Yeah. Imagine those guys with their shirt on hitting baseballs and they're good at it. Like you're like these dudes
have to watch some
are
reruns,
superhuman.
Bro. That sounds dope.
Superhuman. No, it was crazy.
It was really compelling.
Like I watched all the Cubs games because like I was an Astros fan. Obviously, I didn't get to watch the Astros games, but I got to watch the Cubs games. So I got to watch Sammy Sosa every game, and it was just like every time he was up at bat, like you were looking forward to Sammy Sosa being up at bat because he's about to knock this thing out.
It was must watch.
Honestly, it was like Friends.
Yeah.
Because he was probably going to do it, so it was satisfying. Like it was, he would go up and then maybe he would strike out. But you watch the rest of the game because you want to see Sammy Sosa up again. He comes up for number 2, grounds out.
Yeah,
gosh. All right.
All right, okay.
And all right, but you're still in it and you're waiting. And number 3 comes up and 556 feet. He's knocking it on the roof of the building next door. And
that's like the dunk of baseball. Like you're waiting for LeBron James to slam it down on somebody.
The home run
is it's like the slam dunk in a way.
The home run. The home run is really one of the most compelling. Like that's one of the most compelling moments in sports, and the reason is because, and honestly, I'm not a huge baseball fan.
Well, neither am I.
But
but it's power. It's
like
glory.
How many dunks do you see in an NBA game? 40.
So this is even more rare. You're saying?
Yeah,
it's a greater rarity.
You see 1, 2, 3, maybe at the most. How many do you see?
1 every 3 games.
Got you.
What are you talking about?
So
home runs.
Baseball home runs.
Well, let's say right now because they've definitely
they've
definitely shortened a lot of the outfields. Maybe 1 a game.
They did.
Well, let's look at it like this.
I think they have. Some.
If
They're
you're
like, they're not
watching
roided out anymore, we
one
gotta do something.
specific team,
Okay, yeah.
if you're watching one specific team, you might see one every couple of games, one every 3 games.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then
But
they'll
if
have
you're-
one where they hit 3 out, and then
Yeah.
no
Well, yeah,
home runs
you
the
used
next
to give it
day.
an
Of course,
average.
and then if you caught the game where Sammy Sosa hit 3, like, oh man, what a satisfying game that is!
Oh, yeah, I bet,
Like how
I bet.
great.
So like,
And
what
this
do they do-
dude came out, his jersey didn't even fit. Like his arms were this big.
Who was the biggest one? Sosa, Bonds, McGuire. Who was the biggest one? Sosa was the biggest one.
McGuire was the biggest one.
Yeah, I would say McGuire, right?
McGuire
What'd you
was
say
the
this was, like,
biggest
97
one.
or so?
But when it comes to like
96,
being
97?
jacked, when it comes to like jackness, when it comes to like jacked, definitely Sosa.
And so
Sosa was
what,
so
what are we
jacked.
talking about right now? We're talking about like 96, 97, like the same time Michael Jordan was winning the Bulls kind of thing.
No,
his final seasons?
early 2000s.
Is this
early
the
2000s.
99 or 2000 was when they were doing it?
Like
I almost want to say 99.
99 through like 03.
Yeah, one of those
that.
years was when it happened. But when
Because they did it for like
night
3
that
years.
the
They did
record
it-
got
it was-
broken.
It was like 3 or 4 years.
The night that the record got broken, your power probably was out, right? Because my power was out. The Syracuse had just been hit with this huge storm.
The Labor Day Storm, the famous.
The famous
famous Labor Day storm,
Yeah. And I remember, I think we ran a TV off of a generator to be able to watch. I think it was Cubs versus Cardinals, so McGuire versus Sosa. And when McGuire finally broke the record, I think Sosa came out and hugged him.
Yeah,
and all this. It was a big moment.
It was cool.
Yeah.
That was like honestly, that was the time that I actually really liked baseball.
Gotcha.
Like I never played.
so into it.
I never played baseball
Yeah.
when I was younger. I was, I'm a football and basketball guy.
Did you get the year?
I'm just looking up images right now of just Mark McGuire in 2000. Like,
Yeah, bonkers.
he
right?
does look like a wrestler, dude. This is like,
Look how fucking Look how fucking big he is.
Just a lot of milk, man. Just a lot
Just-
of milk and protein.
Look at
It's like a
Sosa,
fucking
dude.
Randy Savage
Look at
out here.
Sosa, dude.
Mark McGuire should have been cast in
My
Guardians of the
fucking-
Galaxy. He looks
Yeah.
like what's
Sosa,
the,
yeah, Savage Randy. Fuck yeah, bro. Yeah, there you go. We were
What's
just
the
watching
name
videos
of
of Mike Good at
Batista?
him.
Is that the name of the wrestler who's in Guardians of the Galaxy?
Batista.
Yeah, he's like got the body type of Batista at that point.
Oh my god, I'm just looking him up. Yeah, this is.
These dudes are so jacked.
Yeah.
They're so jacked. Look at Sosa. Look how jacked Sosa is.
He's looking good, man. Look at that, dude. Look at those shoulders,
He's
baby.
so
wait.
jacked.
It's looking huge. Oh, sorry, what just happened? Here we go. There's a picture of him. Right?
Yeah, just jacked.
Just out of control. Just big. I mean,
Huge.
it's that sounds like something I might watch. Because when I was growing up, I mean, that was kind of passing out, and then like. I don't know. Baseball just seemed like a slow game. I don't know. It just wasn't for me.
No, the thing with Barry Bonds though was Barry Bonds was like a twig for 10 years of his career.
Everybody's like, what happened?
And then like in one off season he put out like 50 pounds of muscle.
he was
and his head grew by 3 head sizes.
He was a 30-30 guy. Like Bonds.
His head looks huge, dude.
Look at
that head, bro. It's like bigger than his chest, dude.
Look at him.
He looks like a bobblehead.
Look at him when he started his career though, compared to that.
Yeah, so like,
in like 1991, 1992 is I think when he started.
Oh,
his
this is an
career.
article called "The Evolution of Barry Bonds," so probably I'll have it.
yeah, but it's just like what?
So that was him. I don't know, 2000 or something. But oh wait, okay, it's not working. All right. Oh wait, what's this? Oh yeah, this is like an evolution thing. Okay, so, oops. God dang it.
Oh, you're all over the place.
Yeah, it's
You
fucking
keep
up.
going backwards.
There we go. We're getting thinner now. 94.
There we go.
93.
He used
92. Yeah.
he used
Look at him. It looks like he's about to be a sprinter or something.
Yeah,
It was
he used to steal 30 bases a game.
Gotcha. So he
30
was
bases
quick.
a
He was
season.
quick.
He was a fast guy.
It's
he
like
was
when
super
Britney
fast.
Spears came back from quote unquote knee surgery, but
Yeah.
then had like double D.
Gigantic tits. Yeah.
It's like what? What is it? What is it? What are you guys saying?
What are you
No,
guys talking about?
no.
Same old me. Same old me.
natural, baby.
Yeah.
It's like
Did she get surgery one more time? Or all right, so yeah, he got big, man. That's preposterous. Yeah, his head.
his
mostly-
neck, his head literally grew by
Yeah.
3 sizes.
Yeah, it looks like 03.
clear
He was
skin.
looking big in 03. Like he
Yeah.
was just like out of control.
That's when he broke the record. That's when he broke McGuire's record.
Got you. Yeah. That's really
Just liquid aminos, guys. Liquid aminos and chicken breasts.
I'm
That's
so
it.
into all the weird evolution shits. Like if you type in like evolution of Michael Jackson or whatever, like it's the transformation of somebody always is fascinating.
Well,
to me.
look at the evolution of Sammy Sosa. He's
right.
white now. He's
What?
white. I'm not lying to you. He's white now.
So
Canceled.
maybe
Cancel
maybe
me.
he has vitiligo.
Look at him. Look at me too.
Why is this? Maybe he just stopped.
Yep.
That is interesting. Look at that.
Now he looks like Bruno Mars, but back in the day he looked like freaking.
Yeah.
No, are you serious?
He's white now.
That makes
Yeah.
no
I
sense.
barely saw the picture. What?
Show him.
Maybe he's not getting that much sun anymore.
Look at this
He
meme.
lives in the Dominican Republic.
Look at this meme, bro. That's terrible, dude. Look at that.
Like he's
But here's a real one right here. That's like a real one.
he's legitimately white now.
He might have vitiligo or
How
whatever.
does-
just like
I
Michael
don't-
Jackson did
I
also
don't-
have. But he
how
also
does
got
that
plastic
work? I
surgery.
don't know.
I don't know, man. Like they call it skin bleaching,
You think that's what?
and I don't know what it like. I've never looked into it,
Is that something that happens
but
to
I'm
people?
like, I know vitiligo is a thing.
Vitiligo?
but I don't-
What do you mean?
Well, that's a skin like it's just like where your pigment goes away.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's
And,
the deal. Okay.
It could be, but he went from Sammy Sosa to white Sammy Sosa like overnight.
Gotcha.
So like it's
Well, I know you
It's a little
don't. I know
weird.
you don't like the term white supremacy, and I can agree with not liking that term. But something I found interesting when I used to work in the school district here in Syracuse, where it was mostly, I think mostly black population. They will. You might call this a vestige of white supremacy of the past or something, maybe. But like they will talk about somebody as light skin or not light skin. Oh, he light skinned. Like, and it's usually usually it seemed like it was like a good thing. Like, oh no, he light skinned. Like, and that was this is something they would talk about almost every single day.
really.
And I'm not trying to say like, oh my god, fuck all white people. I'm not trying to say
no,
that. I'm
no,
just trying to
I'm
say
not-
like
I don't-
there are weird things like
Dude,
throughout the past.
I was in the
more
Syracuse
white
City
has
School.
been
Like,
associated better for some reason.
I grew up
beauty
in the-
standards and etc.
I grew up in the Syracuse City School District. I was white boy forever.
Yeah, yeah,
So like Bellevue. I went to Bellevue Elementary.
Yeah.
I went to Shea Middle School.
yeah.
And then we didn't get out. Get out. My father was like, "Fuck
I thought you
it."
meant in reference to the movie.
Yeah, my father he was just like, fuck this place because my brother and my sister had bad
Well,
experiences.
being in the hood sucks. Everybody can agree with that. It's not
Right.
That's not racist. I mean, it's just literally it sucks for everybody involved.
But it
this-
sounded
this
racist when you
actually-
said it.
This actually
I'll
brings up,
translate.
Paul.
it actually can bring up an interesting conversation, and this is something that like with Biden and everything. Like this actually brings up an interesting because like the HR1. Have you heard of HR1?
Oh, sounds familiar.
It's
HR1 is that
it's
that
a
the
legislation.
What is HR1 then? What?
HR1 is the legislation that they're pushing where like you don't have to have an ID to vote.
Oh.
And one of the things that like my counter argument to every like liberal, I'm not going to say Democrat, but liberal who attacks me or left wing person who attacks me, I say like, well, as a conservative, I say like everybody has shit, everybody goes through things. Like what makes your shit more than somebody else's? And why is your party continuously like they don't want like without an ID? All we're asking as conservatives is that you show up to vote and you have an ID. That's it.
I'll tell you where I think I know where it comes from, and this is the appropriation of history they always use, and they weaponize history because they're, I think, kind of going back to Jim Crow and stuff, where it was at that time for sure that, I guess you could say white legislators, but Southern legislators were putting in different measures to make it harder and harder for the black and the African people to vote, or African American people to vote. And so that's the history of it. There is some racist stuff putting behind barriers to vote.
Which we all can agree. That's terrible. And we should solve that.
That's what they're trying to.
But what I don't like you got like Biden listening like, oh, if you're an illegal immigrant, you can vote. If you're,
he literally said that.
Yeah,
he literally said an illegal immigrant vote.
That's HR1, dude. That's HR1. That's the legislation.
That just doesn't seem to work.
That doesn't seem to make sense.
So,
here's the thing:
if you don't have to have any ID, you don't have to have an address, you don't have to have anything to vote. And
so what's to stop you from showing up 18 times?
Exactly. Now the thing with that my counter argument to that is simple. It's like, why are Democrats so adamant that illegal immigrants to become legal, minorities, black people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Why don't they want them to have IDs? Like literally to have, like you have to have an ID for everything.
It's
Like,
very belittling.
you
It's very
can't-
belittling of
you-
black people. They
can't get a
certainly,
bank account?
They are certainly able to get an ID. There's no stopping.
Well,
It
But
doesn't make any
you're
sense.
Could I
pushing-
offer
when you-
this?
But there is that
push
history that I
this-
mentioned. But other than that, I don't understand.
Could I offer, if there's a legitimate gripe, a legitimate claim of saying, hey, in these communities, this area of this city, all that, if we can look at all those different demographics and say, actually, it's really the likelihood of having of an ID here versus how easy it is to get in another community. Can we solve that gap? Can we require an ID and then actually go in and kind of like be the inverse of Jim
Well,
Crow saying
at some
anybody who's
point-
struggling to get an ID, we're going to have
We're gonna
special
help you get an
days.
ID.
We're going to
Sure,
make it
sure.
A
happen.
voter ID.
Yeah,
like
voter
just
ID. We're
at
going to make it happen.
Go in.
Yeah.
You know, go in. To
And that's what
wherever
I'm
your
for.
thing is.
I want to solve those things.
I want.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want everybody to vote. I want everybody to.
Everyone who's
everybody
allowed
who's
to vote.
Everybody's
Yeah.
allowed to
Every
vote. But
citizen.
if you're not, if you're, you know, once you get legal, my best friend from childhood is Laos. And I remember seeing
Laos?
Laos.
Laos.
Laotian?
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 Laotian.
From Laos. No,
Yeah,
no.
he's from Laos.
Yeah.
And so like outside of Thailand kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like I remember like I used to be at his house every weekend growing up. And I remember his father going through the process of becoming an American citizen.
Okay.
And like he did the studying like he had to do, because the test is honestly something we could probably pass real quick, but if you're not from this country, probably not going to pass it. So like he was like, I remember him studying and everything else, and I just remember how cool it was to watch him go through that process. And that's you, and he's super proud to be American now. Like you should be,
Yeah.
as you should be. But when Democrats push this kind of legislation, this is where I have my questions. I grew up a Democrat. And I just became a conservative over the last, like, probably 5 or 6 years. And when I see this kind of stuff, it really drives me nuts, man. Like, when they're saying, like if you don't have an identification, you can't get a bank account, you can't get an apartment, you can't get a car, you can't get a bank loan, you can't go to college, you can't do any of this.
Right.
So why are they making not having an ID such a
virtue or something.
a virtue? No, go get
How
a
do you-
fucking ID.
I have
bro.
another question,
Like,
but
Yeah, but then also solve the gaps where it's difficult. Figure out
Right.
that's where the funding should go. Money
I wish.
should go.
Okay, so
Fix
here's
that.
here's what I would say too: is I wish that right now we had a really smart left winger to like. Because I consider myself, I have views on both sides. You consider yourself conservative. I think you maybe consider yourself having both sides.
middle. I'm in the middle.
I'm moderate.
Okay, so we're
I am
a pretty moderate
I-
table
I-
of people right now.
I go to I lean towards the right on most things, but for the most part, I'm in the middle.
Well, they used to say like if you're not on the left when you're a kid or when you're younger, you don't have a heart, and if you're not on the right when you're older, you don't have a brain or something like that. They used to say.
yeah,
that. But
yeah, I remember that.
I believe
kinda.
that's a Michael Savage quote.
no, is it really?
Might be.
I thought it was just like a cliche that people said. I don't mean
maybe
it.
maybe
Well,
it's not a quote then. Maybe
okay,
he's
but-
just said it before.
Okay. So I wish we had somebody like that. How do you feel? I think in the HR proposal or maybe in a similar proposal, they're talking about letting ex-cons vote and people who have felonies. How do you feel about that?
I'm not a fan of that. Honestly, if you rape someone, I don't think you should vote. Like I don't think that your judgment is up to the, and it's nothing. Listen, and some people go to jail for shitty reasons, and for them, I think it comes down to whatever they did. Like if you're like a serial rapist, I don't think your judgment comes into play when it comes to who should lead the country. However, if you went to jail because you got 3 DUIs, maybe you're going to counseling, and there's it's a gray area.
Yeah.
I
not
don't.
sure how I feel about it personally. I don't know.
If you murdered 4 people, no.
Well, hopefully you're still in jail at that point. Right?
Yeah, like no, you don't have a vote.
Right.
Like if you murdered 4 people, you don't have a vote.
Yeah.
If you
You get 4 votes. You get the number of people you kill. That's how many votes you get.
But that's how
No.
like loose the thing is. Like the new lynching law, for example.
What?
Lynching law. Yeah, this is. I know.
It's not funny.
It's kind of funny. Like the lynching law that they tried to push was like it was so vague.
Yeah.
Like lynching is pretty specific, if you ask me.
Are we trying to make lynching legal, or are you saying if you lynch someone?
No. Like it was
like,
just a variation of what the lynching was. So like, for example, like and Rand Paul was the senator who like spoke against it. They were trying to push a lynching law where it was like if any like white dude and a black dude, like if they got into a fight and the white dude won, it would be lynching.
Okay, that's
so like
what?
Yeah, and I remember it, and I actually had an experience.
Jake Paul gotta watch out.
But I actually had an experience in this because when I was in the Army and I was in Colorado, like I was with my buddies at a bar, and of course I was young and dumb and everything, and just full of testosterone, and so my buddy was getting shoved, and I'm always like a protector. That's kind of just my thing. Like, I always protect my boys.
Yeah.
And so like this dude was like shoving my buddy at the bar, and my buddy didn't want any part of it. So like I just jumped in, and I just grabbed him by the shirt, and I threw him a little bit, and then we both got tossed out to the front, and then we just had a little fist fight. Like we just threw our dukes up.
Yeah.
It was me and this black dude. We just threw our dukes up, threw a couple fists, got hit, bop, bop, bop. But then the cops showed up. I got brought away. And they were asking me the whole time if it was a hate crime. And I was like, hate crime?
Yeah.
It's a bar fight. It's a bar fight. Like it's
right.
It's like, this happens all the time. I thought you guys were taking me home. Like, I didn't know I was going to the station for this.
Well, because that's a federal crime if it were to have escalated to that point.
But it's like, but that's what they were trying to do. And Rand Paul actually spoke against it, saying like, well, like, it don't make sense. Like, if I'm in a fist fight, like, we just fight.
Right.
But if I break the black dude's jaw,
that's a hate crime or something?
then it turns into lynching, which is a federal offense. It's no longer a fight. So, I mean, like, we're in this really, especially with government, we're in this really weird gray area.
Yeah.
Where everything just seems to be a lot. And it probably shouldn't be. Like, we should just be Americans. Let us be Americans. Let us go do what we got. If we get into a fight, we get into a fight. If we got to go do 10 hours of community service, let us go do 10 hours of community service. But don't drop federal offenses for a bar fight. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it seems like a lot. I mean, America was founded on the concept of limiting the government. That was the notion. And I get that there were flaws. They were not addressing women and people of color, all this other stuff. Terrible that happened at the time. But we're trying to expand it so these rights that protect us from government are for everybody. That's the point of the Bill of Rights, and that's the point of the evolution of America. But now it's like, let's have more government. That's not particularly American.
Which is very interesting, because the same kind of movement happened back in the 70s. Like my old man went to Vietnam, and he was a Marine in Nam.
Are you talking more like the 60s, like the civil rights? Or
no, this is after the Civil Rights Act. He came back in the early 70s, and like they were getting spit on by like leftists at that time.
Well, it was a very unpopular war.
Very unpopular war, I understand that, but like he was getting spit on and shit. Like nowadays, it's like, if anybody finds out I'm a veteran, they go like, "Oh, thank you for your service," and that kind of shit. And
by the way, thank you for your service. We didn't say it earlier.
No, I did. Oh, no. You forgot. So shame on you.
Well, it's like honestly,
guys,
like
I'm so sorry.
It's fine. I don't care. Like, thank you for being comedians. Thank you.
You know what? I mean,
thank you for.
That's the new line of fire these days. I mean, not to take away from the Army, but fuck.
But it's like. But like back in those days, the resistance, to use that as a term, the resistance was no government. Now the resistance seems to be, I want the government to handle everything, which is such a weird conundrum.
This gets into a weird thing for me. I'm not really against some stuff, but I just kind of sit there and go like, well, what is the government good at? Like when you go to a restaurant, You go to Red Lobster, you order seafood. Like that is what they're good at. You go to a good steak place, you don't get the chicken, you get the steak. So if I think of my government as a restaurant, what are their strengths? What does this restaurant do well? What would you guys say?
Well, they're pretty decent. Wow. They've always been pretty decent at keeping a standing military.
Okay.
Because how else are you supposed to have that?
So could we call that killing people? They're really good at killing people.
People, yeah.
What's another thing you guys think they're good at?
Nothing.
I'll give them one more. Can I give you one more? I think they're pretty decent, at least in New York State, at building roads. They're okay. They're always building them, but they're pretty decent. They're not the greatest in the world, maybe, but
they're building new roads, but they're not repairing any of the ones that are shitty.
Okay, but I'm gonna give them the roads. I'm gonna give them roads.
Well, here's what I mean is like you just see like how like the contradiction in government, for example, like Biden is now taking credit for vaccinations. It's like, no, well, that was Trump. Trump did that.
Trump initiated Operation Warp Speed,
which
his administration, and then that had the result. And now, I mean, you could say that Biden got more of them out, but
no, you can't. You give that to the governors of the states that got them out. Trump was the one who initiated this. And by the way, while Biden was campaigning, he said that there's not a chance that we're going to have a vaccination by January 1st. There's not a chance that we can have that.
Right. Yeah.
It's impossible to have a vaccination by January 1st. And December 17th, motherfuckers were getting shots.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, they call like Trump a liar, and I'm like, well, this is where Trump was on the money while you were lying to everybody. And now you're coming in, and Trump even said, like, by June 1st, we're going to have everybody vaccinated by June 1st. So now Biden is taking credit for everybody should be available, like for you and me to get the vaccination should be available by May 1st.
He is saying that, yeah.
And it's like, well, that's 30 days. Like, you got 30 days on Trump. Trump did this whole thing that you're taking credit for now. And it's like everybody always reverts back, especially when it comes to presidential shit. Like everybody always reverts back. Like when the economy was great, everybody reverted back. Well, he inherited Obama's economy.
Yeah, but that's what anybody who's on the opposing side of the person presently.
But this
always say that, right?
But this is somebody who, like, it's legit. Like, COVID came out of nowhere. Nobody knew what was happening. Nobody knew what was happening when it happened. And then Trump fucking went, boom, I'm gonna get this shit taken care of. And what did he do? Got that shit taken care of.
He called My Pillow. He called.
I think the push.
We need a team.
Okay, so the government has done some stuff, I guess. Like they've done.
It depends on who you.
You talk about the amendments. They passed women's suffrage amendments. They passed amendments that allowed African Americans more rights in the '60s. They do some stuff in terms of the liberties of the people. But at the same time, though, I kind of like the original idea, like the Jeffersonian Thomas. Oh my God, he had slaves. Yeah, that sucked. But he had some good ideas besides that. Mm-hmm. I like some of his ideas. He had this idea of like having all the states be like experiments of democracy, and so each state it was more of like a federalist system where it's more decentralized. The federal government has less power, and the governors in the states have more power. Yeah. I kind of wish that, and that's kind of where we're at right now with COVID. Yeah. With like Florida opening up, Texas opening up.
Florida's always been open.
Right.
Florida never gave a shit.
Kind of wish that it was like it's a little bit like that with
I feel
COVID.
Like I marginalized.
Where different governors do different approaches, and you see the different results one way or another. You can look at the results for yourself, look up your own data, your own research, but. Like, Florida, New York, California, look up the different, whatever, the results, Texas. Okay, but, like, I kind of wish, like, California, they did socialized medicine. See how that works. I wish that New York did fucking whatever.
I don't want that.
Well, no, you're not listening. Like, I wish that, and then I wish that, like, Texas, Florida were just, like, the most libertarian place in history. Like, everything's on the market, but there's no regulation. See how that goes. You can compare that to California and all their socialized nation. All that shit. That's the idea of an experimental experiments of democracies. Each state does it different. I like that idea personally.
But here's the thing. I think we did
like reset, or are we?
I think I just did reset it.
Okay, cool.
I think we did have an experiment.
Okay, I'm gonna check the canvas.
I think we did have an experiment. I think COVID was the experiment where we realized we cannot have universal health care. I'm a believer in universal health care. I think that we could legitimately put that out.
Yeah.
Like, as a country that we are, like with our GDP, with the amount of money that we bring in, like, we could definitely do that.
Yeah.
However, giving 330 million people the ability to go to the hospital, it's a resource issue. It's not necessarily it's not necessarily like we don't want to give you health care. It's just that we don't have the resources. Doctors don't grow on trees. Nurses don't grow on trees. You know, I'm a CCMA. I'm a clinical certified medical assistant. That's my job. You know, I'm a comic to try to do that, but that my job is CCMA. We just don't have the resources. Because you've seen what happened with COVID is everybody with the sniffles ran to the ER. What I'm saying is that like now our ERs got flooded, our hospitals got flooded, and we just didn't have the manpower to keep up with it. 330 million people is a lot of people. And if everybody can go to the ER for a splinter, or everybody can go to the ER for the
But here's the thing, Paul, is maybe that's the thing, is like everybody can go to the ER.
Because someone did go to the ER that we know for a splinter.
Shout out.
I didn't mean that.
Shout out Marante!
Jay Marati, we love you, buddy.
Yo, he gave birth to
And
this
hey,
man.
recover well. Recover well.
I think you can. Okay, I think you can go.
I didn't mean that, by the way.
I thought you could go. I thought you can go to the ER in this country. Like if you don't end up paying, they don't even really chase you around.
No,
you can.
You can
if you're
go,
a poor person,
but
if you're
going to get a bill.
Yeah, but you don't even have to really pay it, I think. That's the thing.
Listen, if you shred every piece of mail that you get, just don't read it, just shred it. And you don't pay your phone bill long enough,
like
they
what I
can't
mean-
get a hold of you,
Yeah.
and then it is free.
Technically speaking, you nailed it.
Life hacks. Hit me with the life hack.
All right, so okay, but yeah, all right. So this is actually an interesting question too. As a free thinker myself, got views on both sides. It's like, do you think that it's I get like way in the past when everything was like, yeehaw, we're like just going west, everybody's just doing their own thing, they're homesteading, they got their own little wagon, they're fighting off whoever's fighting them, whatever. It's all this craziness. It's like the wild, wild west out here. You got a gun on you, you're gonna just. I get that like lifestyle. We're not gonna have a fucking, insurance and all that unlimited health care for everybody from the federal government. But in this day and age, in such a civilization, everybody's part of the fold of the civilization. Everybody's got an iPhone. Everybody's got housing. Everybody's part of this now. Everything's settled down. Is it really fair to not have some baseline healthcare, or is it not fair? I mean, do you want people to die because they're poor?
No,
That's my question for you.
I'm a big proponent for healthcare.
I get what you're saying about resources, and we'd have to figure that out. Maybe we need a lot more doctors.
I think the resource. Well, the thing is, like, what does it take to become a doctor?
A lot.
It says 10 years.
But you could subsidize. Look, COVID has shown another thing too. COVID has shown that money apparently does grow on trees because they're just printing like there's no tomorrow.
Throwing it out,
so if they're going to print like there's no tomorrow, you might as well get. I'm of the opinion you might as well have a baseline health coverage. In my opinion, I might be wrong.
I'm not
I don't know.
against it necessarily, and it seems like a lot of people in our populace want it, and I think the government should serve what the populace wants, essentially, right?
And I'm talking about a baseline
But
too.
when we get back to the restaurant analogy, and they basically only do two things well, like it's like they do burgers and fries decently. That's what our government does well, and they turn around and they go with if that restaurant turns around and
They're trying to do a rotini all of a sudden.
raw shrimp, a raw tuna entree. You're like, I don't trust this kitchen. Like, if the Blarney Stone offered a raw tuna, I don't know if we should mention Blarney Stone. Like, you'd be like, yo, I love that place for burgers.
But
I don't know if I want,
Let's go with McDonald's analogy. If McDonald's had an ahi tuna,
I want my raw tuna handled in, like, I want that needle threaded just right, okay? All right? Because it needs to be just so. And I feel like, although the idea of being able to go to the same place that we're getting a strong military, I feel like I marginalized the military by just saying killing people. I'm sure you guys provided more than that, but I'm just being comedic here. And then also roads.
You don't have to explain yourself.
Okay, roads. Okay, well I was
Just
trying
do
to
it.
Okay, roads and killing people, and then you turn around and be like, well, we're not just gonna kill people anymore and give you roads. Now you're gonna have a place to drive for free. That's gonna save your life, and we're gonna provide that coverage. That's where it's like, okay, but how are you handling it? Because your debt, all the other things you do on your menu, managing our debt, like that's all a disaster right now. Like It's just.
It seems like that whole thing
that's
is just.
where I'm like,
I don't
you
even
guys
know.
are just aren't the people
I
for the job.
always was like very, very open to the whole Ron Paul Liberty Report type. Like, we got to worry about this debt clock. We got to worry about what's going to happen to our kids. But it just feels like now every country just accumulates. Is it even real? I don't even know, man. We got the Federal Reserve printing.
What they got to do is take
the
the last few cents they got in their pocket, put it into the alt currencies, the cryptos, the bitcoins, and just wait for that sucker to blow up. Advice. Okay, and that's going to cure our national debt.
Not financial advice. You're absolutely right.
I don't know, man.
But
look, I'm all for limited government where we can. That's for sure.
I believe that there should be community hospitals, and it should be like, I mean, if I was president, what I would do, is basically the same thing what the VA does for veterans, but for the community. You set up hospitals. People who get out of medical school, people who get out of that, they go work there. They get a government check, government salary. If they want to go do their own private practice, good for you. But this is where you can get your start. You can get you can get a nice salary, and it's going to be on the government for the community, for lower income communities who can't afford things.
Okay.
So who's paying for that? The Fed, or is the government, or the state?
Us.
Well, us. No, somehow, some way, shape, or form. But I'm saying, is it the state level, or you're saying it's the federal level?
But it should be. I think it should be state level because.
So you're going more with the Jeffersonian thing I was talking about a little bit.
Yeah, that's why I'm against like the $15 minimum wage. The reason I'm against the $15 minimum wage isn't because I think that people shouldn't get $15 an hour. It's just that what does $15 an hour do for people in New York compared to people in Alabama?
That is a fair point.
Regionalized cost of living.
Well, that's why there's the one Democrat from, I believe, West Virginia in the whole caucus but the whole House of Reps. I think Joe somebody. He's a Democrat, but he's against the minimum wage hiking to 15. He's the only Democrat because he's from West Virginia, where it's going to like bankrupt half the small businesses in that particular region.
Yeah, because
wasn't there some legislation about subsidizing to 15?
Man,
federally subsidized? How do you say that without sounding drunk? Subsidized.
You nailed it.
We're getting into the weeds here, man.
Sober, I swear.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm not really sure. I agree though that this is weird thing where everybody's just like so about the government now. Like, oh my God, bail us out, give us stuff. I love you. Why? No, this is America. Like, get a gun, get a homestead, and like, yeah, I'd be down for some. I'm personally down for some healthcare, but besides that, I'm not really down for much.
No, honestly, like healthcare, I think we can do if we do it rationally. If we do it the right way.
And I'm just saying, I have my doubts, because of the government's track history. Not that I'm against healthcare.
My only doubt came in because of COVID when I seen like how overwhelmed the hospitals were at the beginning, and I'm like, oh, well, if we give everybody a free pass to go to the hospital, then like people who really need to get care compared to the people who just have the sniffles, like they're gonna see the people who have the sniffles because they came in first, and the person who really needs something is gonna get he's got to wait.
Do you think remote screening, like through the power of Zoom and things that, and like different instruments that people could have in their homes, could help? Would the word be mitigate or lessen the blow of the? Can you call it a hypochondriac effect or the overly cautious?
Yeah, I think that could come into play. I think that very well, like because they're already using that now. They're already using that.
They are using that. Telehealth. I saw a doc on telehealth recently.
Yeah,
I could see that 5 years. That kind of
that
solving some of those challenges.
You know how creepy this could get with future tech? Like, could you imagine if like there's just a home health device you can buy? It's a set of hands. Mm-hmm. It's like some weird just AI hands, and they're just sitting there at your computer. And
Alexa, am I gonna fucking die?
No, the doctor. All right, let me check you out.
But
and the doctor reaches in from 100 miles away, and it's just like, all right, go ahead and step to the hands, and the doctor's just reaching through the shit, and they're able to feel tactilely all that shit. Okay. Because there's that pair of gloves you got. So does this make any sense at all?
No one will misuse that device.
Or there could be a whole weird like Jenkins or a whole like Alfred robot that's just there on standby, and then the doctor activates it, and now they're in the shit, and they're just like, because that's the thing is like, don't you want the doctor to check your pulse and all that other stuff? Like, you gotta be handled sometimes.
That's what I do.
Okay,
the doctor doesn't do that. That's what I do.
The doctor just isn't sitting there like.
I bring you in. I go, hey, I walk out. I got the clipboard. I go, Karen, and then you show up, and then I throw you in the chair. I do your blood pressure. I check your temperature.
Yeah.
I ask you about your medication history. I ask you if you had any surgeries. I ask you all your medical history. And then the fucking doctor comes in.
Well, yeah, but like I had,
So-
I had a broken arm, I had a sprained ankle all last year because I skateboarded way too much, skateboarded all the time last year. So I just kept messing my shit up. At 28, you don't recover as quick. So I kept going to the doctor, and then the guy would have to he'd be like, "Are you any meniscus?" Like he was saying all this shit, he was testing everything. There's depending on the doctor. Sometimes you do want them to be able to touch you, but that sounds weird in and of itself.
I just can't wait for the day and age because like we're all moving towards voice activation in our homes, where you're hanging out with somebody who's like, man, you gotta check out these new tire rims I got, and like they show him like, man, I'm convinced. How much did you pay for those? He's like, I got them off of Amazon for whatever, and you go, hey Alexa, go ahead and order me some new tire rims. And then they're like ordering hymns via erectile dysfunction medications. And each time it keeps giving you like a new Viagra supplement, and they'd be like, no, man, clear my search history. Clear my search history.
Well, I'm 36 now. Like I noticed my hair thinning.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
You got this beautiful head of hair.
I know. Look at over there.
Curly locks.
I'm jealous about it.
Now I'm definitely gonna be one of those dudes. Like when I'm 40, I'm just gonna walk in with this flocking beautiful thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you're rocking the keeps or whatever. You're taking those pills.
No, I'm gonna go ahead and get the caterpillars just stapled into my head, dude. I'm gonna get the real thing, dude.
I was wondering, are you
mohawk with
becoming
that
a hat guy? Are you becoming hat guy? Like, is that how you're?
No, well, the reason I have a hat on right now, by the way, is because I did buzz my hair.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I buzzed my hair is because I had surgery on my head.
Yeah.
Oh.
I had a cyst.
Whoa.
I had a little thing on the back of my head, so I had the doctor took it out. I had a little.
So the doctor
surgery.
touched you.
He did. He didn't fucking touch me. He opened me up, bro. Like he got in there. Hell yeah.
Dude, if this was the 1990s, we would be making gay joke after gay joke after gay joke.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And it would be great.
He spread me right open. My head, by the way. Not my legs.
He gave me the best head of my life.
My head. He fucking and the thing is, I did the surgery, and the surgery was I live alone. I'm in Cleveland. I'm by myself now.
Yeah.
So I live alone, so I couldn't go under for the surgery.
Fix that fucking. Keep going.
And so because I couldn't go under for
You're good. No, this is popping off.
Oh, my bad.
Oh, you keep talking. Keep talking.
Yeah.
For his birthday, I'm gonna get him a really high quality tape.
So I couldn't.
I could use it.
Yeah. So I couldn't go under, so I had to get local anesthesia, and local anesthesia is when you're awake. During it, they just numb the area and do the surgery.
That's like tooth cavities, no
right,
pain.
that kind of thing. And so I'm laying there, and they gave me a pillow to hug, which was weird. Now that I think about it, that was a little.
He asked
weird.
you if it was your first time.
Yeah. There
was a thing of Vaseline.
I'm laying on my side. By the way, they made me get butt naked and put the gown on, which I thought was a little bit much for having something taken out of my head. So I'm laying on my side, and the gown only covers the front. So I just got asshole this way, and this dude is just cutting my head open. And I keep feeling the person putting the gown over my butt. You know what I mean? It's this weird thing. I keep feeling.
You can
that.
close your asshole if you want to.
But at the same time, I'm this is what I'm thinking. I'm hugging a pillow and I'm going, somebody keeps having to cover my butt while a dude has my head split wide the fuck open.
Hey man, love is love.
But
love is love. Hey man,
and then they put a person in front of you when you go under local anesthesia to talk to you, which is also fucking weird. So this is going on. There's a lady who just has ass duty. just to keep covering my ass every time my ass gets exposed. And then there's a lady talking to me about like, oh, you're from Syracuse, New York. So how do you think about the pizza in Cleveland? And I'm just like hugging this pillow. I'm like, I think it stinks.
Gives me gas.
I think it sucks. Like it's like so I'm having a pizza conversation. My ass is getting covered every 5 minutes, and there's a dude who split my head wide the fuck open, and he's just like going nuts in there. Like I thought this was gonna be a simple procedure. It's a cyst.
All of a sudden you lose your ability to hear. Oh, wrong spot.
Yeah, like
my left arm's not working. Oh, whoops.
I don't remember being 12. Like it's just.
What's your name, son? Oh shit.
It's clearing out the hard drive, huh?
Yeah, like what the, it's just such it was such a surreal experience because I was like, I knew it was gonna be that because as soon as the dude told me to get naked, I was like, anytime a dude tells you to get naked, you're like, all right, this is gonna get weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many times do you think that's happened in your life?
Multiple.
Okay.
I was in the Army, dude. I've seen way more dicks than I'm ever gonna see vaginas. Like that's just a true story.
Not
Why?
It's a numbers game, really.
Yeah. Well, you got 60 guys in a bay, and then they literally just walk in and they go, "All right, all you guys get butt naked and go shower. All 60 of you better be showered up in 5 minutes."
It's just a dick parade over there.
It's a dick parade. So we're all just sitting there, just nut the butt, like.
Not the butt. Oh my god, that sounds like some harrowing experiences. I'm not sure if I can handle it.
That's a little Army memory for you guys.
Are you happy about having been in the Army? Like, was that a positive overall, negative
overall? It's the greatest thing I've ever done.
All right.
It's the greatest thing I've ever done. And
you got out. You got out. Why'd you get out?
I tackle that every single day of my life.
Really?
To be honest.
Really?
Like, the Army, it was the greatest job I've ever had. I met the best friends I'm ever going to have. Like, you don't get to work at a company where you know that the dude next to you is going to take a bullet for you. And you would do the same for them.
Yeah, that's solidarity.
It's incredible. And the other best part about it is just the fact of everybody comes from all walks of life that go to the Army. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm from here, from Syracuse, New York. So my two best friends from the Army, one is a country boy from Iowa. The other one's a big black dude from Philly. Those are my two best friends in the world.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So it's like you come from like, it doesn't, everything goes out the window. I remember our drill sergeant coming in. I went into basic training in 2007, and our drill sergeant came in, and he just, the first thing he said was like, if you're racist, if you're prejudiced, anything, if you got any hang up about anybody, look at the motherfucking next to you. That's what he said. Motherfucking next to you. Because you're going to rely on that son of a bitch for the next 12 weeks. And
it's dope.
Yeah, it's that simple. Like,
beautiful, really.
Like,
kind of is, yeah.
Yeah.
The skin color goes out the window. What matters is, like what we say is we're all green. We're Army. We're all green.
Mm.
And I don't know. I don't know how I got out of it. I don't know, because I loved it so much. Because especially like in today's culture, like, we're gonna get dominated by China in like 10 years because
we're fighting amongst ourselves.
This next group that's going into the military, like, they get you young. Mm-hmm. And if this generation is a representation of the generation that's coming up into the Army or into the Navy or into the Air Force or into the Marines, they just don't have it, man. Like, they're not tough. Like, you have to be gritty.
Well, they are lowering physical standards, I believe.
Oh my gosh. New thing I want to start doing on Facebook. I think I want to start filling this role. No. I just want to go into comment sections that I'm not a part of. Arguments that have been raging and declare winners. Just be like, he won.
That's awesome.
He made a better point about existential criticism versus like what just and like totally
can we change your profile picture to just a ref uniform?
That's fantastic.
Like great references. Your Wikipedia article was more factual than his. Like
I want to bring this up too because I think you had a pretty awesome idea. This was over last summer when we were talking, and Wyatt Crackles. That needs to be a thing.
Oh my gosh, we still need it. Like, I need to brainstorm on making that a thing. The rap song, I believe in. So hard.
Basically, here's the gist of it: is like everybody knows there's a free movie TV service called Crackle,
right?
And whenever you look at something on Crackle, it tells you why it crackles.
Yep. There's a movie description and a why it crackles.
And a why it crackles. So it tells you what it is, but then why it crackles.
If you don't have time for the 3 sentences of the description and you want a less accurate, broader, weird feeling like description that somebody wrote half drunk, that is the why it crackles.
And I actually, and the reason I thought of this is because I was on Crackle the other night, and I was looking at movies to watch, and there was a great one. There's a great one, and it's called Gremlin. The movie's called Gremlin. And it's like a horror, I guess it's like a B horror movie. And then there was the description of the movie, and then there was why it crackles. And why did Gremlin crackle?
Why?
It's like Gremlins, but worse. And I immediately thought of you.
Oh my god, dude! Because it's so fun. Like, okay, can we just do this? Can we hit me up or your social, all these social? Can you send us your favorite Wyatt Crackles? Is that okay or no?
All right, let's do it.
Like, maybe we'll make a video out of it. Like, I wrote a rap song. There is one episode of Wyatt Crackles, but maybe it needs to become a community thing.
I literally just want to get a job.
Shittier version of Gremlin.
It's because someone's taking big swings and we need to shine a spotlight while they're doing their thing. That's what I want to do with Wyatt Crackles. I want to show people how ridiculous it is.
Here's what I want to do. I want us to just watch movies, and it doesn't matter if it's on Crackle. But
then tell why.
Write our own. Okay. That could be the next layer beyond it.
Yeah.
But if we can get some audience participation to send us screenshots of their favorite Crackles.
Deep Homie Gang,
Crackles.
you've been called into action here. Please go ahead and send us your favorite screenshots from Crackle. Why does it crackle?
Yeah.
And we would love to get your results here. I wonder, is Crackle just like a shitty fucking, like, it's just not...
Yeah, it's a Netflix with commercials. It's
a free...
do they actually have good movies besides Gremlins?
No,
like,
they do. They do.
Okay.
They have good movies. It's like Voodoo,
I've seen it
for
on,
example.
yeah, I've seen it on
Voodoo,
the app.
Tubi, all those free, like, watch a movie. The only thing is you're not paying for it because there's commercials.
Right.
But, like, Crackle does have that one thing going for them, which is the description, and then there's just somebody who just... Why it crackles, and then they just throw a sentence out. Why it crackles.
That's awesome.
And, there's one that like it's got like Jared Leto or something, like young Jared Leto, and the Why it crackles. I don't remember the name of the movie. It goes, it's like Sophie's Choice, but it's starring Jared Leto, and he's got to make a decision about whether or not to get on a train. And you're like, how can that be like Sophie's Choice?
How does that make any sense?
All right,
Sophie's Choice is about whether or not to have an abortion, right? Like how could that be like Sophie's Choice? So there's just ostentatiously funny, crazy ideas.
Wow.
And we need to
we need to get jobs as writers for Crackle because that's like a dope position.
That's the best position in the world.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
Just watch a movie and then be like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Why does it crackle? Well...
why does it, Paul?
Well, I've always wanted to fight a turtle.
I've always been a big fan of Greenface.
Apparently 1991 was the only chance I had, and I missed it. That's why it crackles.
All right. Love Swag. This is one of my favorites. Love Swag. A sex tape comedy that actually has something to say. It's insanity.
It's such a mess.
Oh my god, that's so awesome. I'm so glad you guys told me about this.
It's so good, dude. I think I got Crackle on my phone too, just because of why it crackles. But it's like, it's so silly.
Okay, I don't know why this is relevant, but just so everyone's aware, Crackle is a video streaming platform owned by Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment.
No.
Get out of here. That makes it 100% relevant.
I thought it was owned by Sony. It's owned by Chicken Soup for the Soul.
It's literally a company called Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment. Yeah. That's awesome, bro.
Dude.
I am going to buy stock in Crackle now.
This is not financial advice.
You mean Chicken Soup for the Soul
Essentially.
Entertainment? Yeah.
Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Yeah.
Like, they're obviously on the come up.
Yeah, bro.
That
They've
was
been on the
like-
come up. They've been on the come up.
That was like
They've been on the
the
come up since
what is-
1995.
what is it called? The Four Dummies books. Before that was the Chicken Soup for the Soul. Like
Oh, yeah.
Chicken Soup for the Soul of the.
Chicken Soup for the
Failed
Soul.
entrepreneur.
For poetry.
Yeah.
They had it all.
And then it'd be like just 400 pages of bad poetry. Like,
Sorry, you were trying to rap, man. I didn't know we got into that.
Oh, we're good, man. So what's no, this is great. I love the crackle thing. I didn't even know. I'm glad you guys told me about that. It's really funny. So yeah, if you can find your favorite crackles out there, send them in. Send them in to
Yeah.
Deep Homie K or to Paul Make Stuff.
It's,
send it to
it's
Deep
like
Homie. We'll get a list.
Gremlins, but worse. and then I immediately thought of you.
That is the least compelling video description I've ever heard. I'd be like, wow, maybe I'll just find gremlins. That's what I would say in that situation. I don't know. All right, well, anyway, what's next?
Amazing.
Before we wrap this up, what's next for Paul Leo Ellinger in the universe?
Well, I'm a weird dude, so I'm just doing weird shit. Trying to get back into stand-up again now that everything's opening back up. Cleveland's opening back up, so I'm out there. I'm also pro wrestling.
You're really pro wrestling.
Man, pro wrestling, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, you're pro? Doesn't that mean you get paid?
Well, no, I pro wrestle in the aspect of I'm training right now.
Hell yeah.
And then to get to that point, like suplexes and shit, like Macho Man Randy Savage, elbows and shit. Macho Man Randy Savage. It creamed the crop, yeah. Cream of the crop. You know, it's rises to the top. The cream always rises to the top.
He's actually taking off the half and half.
You know, my favorite Macho Man segment was the one he did about Ricky Steamboat. He goes, Ricky Steamboat, you got that Intercontinental Championship, don't you? Yeah, you got that Intercontinental Championship. Yeah, but it's just gonna be a cup of coffee that you have with it. It's just a cup of coffee. Cup of coffee, yeah, because the cream always rises to the top. You know, yeah. So I'm gonna take that Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship up for you, yeah, because the cream. Oh yeah! And then he started screaming. I was like, "This is why I love pro
Hey,
wrestling."
dude, I'm going to maybe take that little quote because that was like an ASMR segment just now on the Deep Homie Guide. That was awesome. That was sick. I'm going to take that and put it on a clip, man.
I was waiting for you to jump in as the straight man. We literally just watched that video.
What's the dude's name who was the black dude that was the straight man all the time?
No, he was the guy with the microphone. I was like, yeah, you seemed upset the last time you guys spoke. And then he's like,
I fucking love Macho Man. If you,
what was the name of the straight guy?
I love him
next to
too.
Like, the straight man.
the
The guy in the tux that would be interviewing him.
Mean Gene Okerlund,
Oh, BG. Okay.
probably.
Dude, that was like one of the best straight man
Like
performances
nowadays-
of all time.
Yeah.
Just like to stay like, oh yeah, and so what's going to happen next? And it's like, well, you see, I'm going to... It's like, oh, well, really? Okay, interesting.
Yeah, dude, Macho Man used to go into crazy. His promos were fantastic. Like, the promos are what make the wrestler. Like the wrestler, you could be the worst wrestler in the world, but if you're like entertaining on the microphone, that's what makes you.
Yeah.
And is that the classes you're taking?
Oh yeah, I do both. Well, I do both.
There's classes?
Yeah.
I thought like you're
my
just
God.
training in the gym, getting whipped into shape.
No, it's not like just getting into shape. Like you actually have to like wrestle dudes and do the thing because pro wrestling is like a
It's
this
half
could be
performance,
this
of
could
course.
this could be a whole nother podcast. By the way, is me just going into pro wrestling, but
Oh, yeah.
like pro wrestling, the way that works is like it's choreographed. We don't use the word fake. That's a dirty word. Fake's a dirty word because the shit hurts. By the way, like people think it's like, oh, they're just getting slammed on a mattress or something like that. No, it's not. It sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. Like you really have to be dedicated to that. And one of the things that I guess that's why like I love comedy and I love pro wrestling is because there's no glamour in it. There's no glamour in these things. Like being an actor, there's glamour. Being a singer, there's glamour. Being in a band, there's glamour. You're doing comedy or you're doing wrestling because you actually love this.
Yeah.
You actually love this thing.
Yeah.
So so you're going in there, you're taking the bumps, you're bouncing off the mat, and it sucks. The ropes suck. That's another thing that people don't think. Like when you jump off the ropes, that sucks because those ropes are fucking ropes, and you're hitting them at a high speed. And
That's some rope burn probably.
yeah, so you're just hitting that shit. Like when I get done, like when I go home and I take my shower, I take my shirt off and I got just fucking red marks just all down just from hitting the ropes.
Dude, I can't even believe you're telling me this. That you're going to. It's like this. It's like you're in clown school, but you're in pro wrestling school.
I love wrestling.
Well, this is good that you moved to
it.
Cleveland though, right? Because you probably couldn't do that in Syracuse.
No, I couldn't do it.
There's probably no pro
That's
wrestling
the
school.
reason. Like that's
one
the
of the
reason I'm
reasons.
starting so late.
Okay.
You know, because
there's nothing around here.
36 now.
Yeah.
I just turned 36 last week.
Yeah.
So now I'm 36, and it's like, all right, I'm probably not going to be WWF champion anytime soon.
No.
But I still love it. It's still fun. And I would love to travel around and fucking wrestle dudes.
Yeah.
Suplex them and put them in my shit and come out with the entrance with my music and all that kind of stuff and just have fun. And that's why I love wrestling. That's why I love comedy. It's because it's fun. It's fun.
Absolutely.
And that's what I wish that people, like, I guess if I were to narrow down everything, that's what I wish people would focus on. Fun, have fun, laugh. When you're at the comedy club, laugh. When you're at the open mic, laugh.
Yeah.
When you're at the wrestling show, have a good time.
Yeah.
Like it's just that's it. Stop trying to find reasons to hate stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? So
All
I
right.
guess that would be my little tidbit just to make a long story short.
Yeah, baby. Hell yeah, man. Well, Paul, I really appreciate you coming on today, man. I definitely think you're an authentic guy. I think you're awesome. I can't wait to see you wrestle. This is gonna be freaking awesome to see. I'm hyped for you. I hope you're doing awesome in Cleveland, man.
I'm enjoying it. I'm by myself out there, but I'm gonna kill it, man. That's all my plan is.
Well, feel free to come on to the Deep Homie Guide anytime, man. You're welcome.
I really appreciate this. This is a lot of fun, man. I fucking
man.
love you guys. So
Love you too, brother. Thank you for coming on, brother. All right, baby.
It's a wrap.
This has been the Deep Homie Guide. This is Deep Homie K. Pete Eddie Woods.
You know it.
Paul Leo Ellinger. We'll see you guys on
do
the
I
flip
get a
side.
nickname?
Remember, keep the deep homies.
Guess we're gonna have to stay in suspense.